Hello and welcome to a new episode of the MinnMax Show. I'm Ben Hansen, joined by JV Gwaltney.
How did I get here?
Back again. Jeff
There you go.
Fava.
Hey.
Oh, breath of fresh air. Thank God there's one constant voice here.
That's right.
Look at this. Elise Favis.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Former Game Informer editor. You went on a big old journey and now you're at the Washington Post.
Moved to DC. Yeah.
Are you sick of people reacting like that? Like, what? The Washington Post?
A little bit. No, it's fine. It's honestly, I still have the same reaction in my own head. So
Yeah. Is it ever insulting? Like people are like, you? The Washington Post? Good God.
No,
like at a certain point, it's like,
not
all right,
at
don't push it that far. It's not unreasonable that a journalist would work at a cool outlet.
No, but it's been a big adjustment, but it's been fun.
I love
have
it.
a great team.
And you've been killing it. You guys have been killing it.
Thank you.
That's very sweet.
Good to hear that.
Launcher is the name of the initiative.
It is. We're a 6 strong, 6-person team. So
Really?
Yeah.
See, that's fun. And like that's one of my favorite things from Game Informer, which is a place we all work together, was just that idea of like having a name like Game Informer, having a name like Washington Post, but then it's just like you feel like the underdog within that organization.
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Yeah. It feels like a startup within a large corporation. So we're very much like we do our own thing and feel you feel separate from the rest of this like very big company, but you still can like borrow and work with like other people with other departments and still have like all those resources, you know, which is great. Like we did. For example, like we did this really ambitious piece recently of like the 10 most influential games of the decade.
Oh yeah.
And the only reason we're able to do stuff like that is because we work for such a like big publication, you know, and we have like all these different resources and people that we can, you know, pull from and art teams and things like that. So
yeah. Because we thought like the Game Informer name was really good for reaching out to developers, and they're like, yeah, sure, I'd be happy to talk to Game Informer, but like coming and swinging with the Washington Post.
That's been interesting, actually. I feel like I've had varying reactions. Most of them, almost everyone is like very willing to talk to us.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I feel like there's a little bit of like, okay, you're not like a gaming publication, or, you know, some of them aren't always familiar with Launcher, and they see WAPO, and it's like, I sense a little bit of hesitation sometimes of like, okay, like, how well are you going to cover this or whatever?
And they think they might be going for something hard hitting, like why would the Washington Post be interested in us? Is there something wrong?
And then there's
are they afraid they're going to get watergated?
There are absolutely PR reps who have been like, okay, what is your focus here, and like how much are you like Kotaku, or how aggressive are you? Or
how aggressive are you? Washington Post,
so that's
known
been
for being pretty chill.
Yeah. Very relaxed publication.
Right.
So that's been very different. But generally, people have been really positive and been really excited about working with us. And I think one of the biggest changes is just like how many interviews I have to do. Like I'm calling people every single day, you know. But basically every piece we have, we try to have some sort of like original twist to it or interview in there, because we don't want to aggregate content.
So I'm not going to call you out on whether or not you've seen it, because I know it's a touchy subject, but I'm just imagining the scene from All the President's Men of just like you leaning back in your chair, just dialing over and over again. Right?
Yeah, I actually have seen it now.
Hey!
So. It's kind of important for me to do
You
that.
could have dodged that if you wanted to. What did you? So you're sitting in your new DC apartment, working at the Washington Post, and then you just decide to sit back and watch All the President's Men?
Well, to be honest with you, I have seen it before, but it was a long ways.
Oh, no.
It was a long time ago, and I had totally forgotten. So I was like, oh no, I've seen this before. But yeah, I watched it again. So
okay.
Yeah.
Does it give you more pride working at the Post?
It's, I guess, I don't know. It is interesting to watch a movie like that when you're working at the publication.
It's not the same building, is it?
No.
Okay.
It is. We're in a new building now on K Street, which is like downtown, central downtown DC. I think they moved like 4 or 5 years ago, but yeah, it's a gorgeous building. Like the lobby has like marble walls and the like glossy white walls. Like we're, I think, I don't know, like 9 or 10 floors or something, and
sure.
Like 1,000 employees. So.
I listened to your interview on the 1099 podcast with Joseph Noob, former intern. Yep. Boy, where do you get off saying some of that stuff? No, but I thought it was really sweet. You talked about how when you went down for the interview, you called JV for a good pep talk right before the interview.
Yeah.
That is the sweetest thing I've ever heard in my life.
I don't remember this.
so true. You were half asleep, like, hey, way to go.
Elise wants something. What does she want?
JV has like a goldfish memory. I lived with him for like 2 years, so.
Yeah.
But I called him up. I don't think I've ever been so nervous in my whole life.
Yeah.
For that job interview. They put me up in this like fancy hotel just a block away from the post, and it was maybe like half an hour before the interview, and I was walking around downtown, and I called JV up, and he told me, he was like, I know you're nervous, and if you want to call me before you head in there, like, definitely you can do it. So I called him up, and he was like, hey, you got this. Like, you're going to do great, blah, blah, blah. And it helped a lot, so.
Do you think?
He's not the worst always.
That's true. Gee, what's your secret? How come you are nice now? Do you feel like you have grown much more kind in the last couple of years?
Oh, God, yes.
I
mean, you remember what it was when I started. I was kind of...
I didn't want to call it out. A little quickly
I was
at
kind of
times.
an asshole. I mean...
Right.
I don't know. Like, I stopped drinking and stuff. And that
How
helped.
connected is that? Is it just overall life change, or do you think stopping drinking just was a good time to pause and kind of reflect on life and reassess? Like, okay, let's move these stats in a certain direction.
Like a restat or re-roll.
MinnMax, some would say.
I don't know. I think it was a lot of things. Like living with Elise changed things. Getting close to my partner Audrey changed things.
Yeah.
Having a good support network and stopping drinking. I think. A lot of humbling experiences. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I've always been fascinated by your guys' friendship. Jeff, you stay out of this. Just pipe down, you idiot.
Jeff's here?
But the friendship between
I'm
you
just
two...
happy being in the middle. It's like a warm hug.
We were talking about on MinnFax a while ago about just that idea of, like, it drives me nuts in retrospect thinking about, like, you two are such good friends, and, like, that's all people want, is they want to hear friendships on mics. They want, just a community. And, like, I felt like at Game Informer, it never came through in a huge way.
I don't know why we never leaned into that more. I feel like we could have done, like, video content more together. And then again, I've never been a huge fan of video, so maybe I shied away from that more than I should have at GI. Lack of confidence, honestly. And I think, I don't know. I want to do... I'm hoping to do more with that. And Launcher, like, we're going to be doing streaming. We're going to do video content more. And like, so I'll be in front of a camera more than I was. So it'll be good for me.
And then before every time on camera, you're going to call JV again?
Oh, absolutely.
Get a good pep talk. I do got this.
Going to put this on silence.
But yeah, I think JV and I have been good friends for like a number of years now. I think ever since E3 2016 when we met. I remember when I met JV, I honestly instantly I was like, I want to be friends with this guy. He's a complete dork. And
Thank you.
Finally, a dork in the industry.
A tall dork, and I don't know. We just played off each other really well. So,
do you think part of it was like you two coming to Game Informer around the same time, and so it kind of felt like, well, we should stick together because we're both a little bit just in a new territory, learning
I think
the ropes.
that
that's
helps.
probably like a little bit of it, but I think it's mostly we have the same dark sense of humor.
Yeah,
and some other
really dumb sense of humor.
Yeah.
So,
if we could go back in time and you guys could do any video content that you wanted together at Game Informer, what would you have done?
Stream with the cats.
Stream with the cats.
And adventure games.
Okay, so the slowest games possible.
Let's play point and click adventure games with cats.
We have the cats play. Because Elise's cat is really dumb.
That's not true. That is not true. Totoro is the smart one.
You should test it. You should set up like a series of tests for your cats to figure out definitively which one is smart and which one is very dumb.
Actually, what was it? Last Christmas, I had these.
Oh, don't do this.
These miniature little Christmas packs of like they're. Why can't I talk? These little Christmas gifts, these little boxes. Yeah. And I put them in front of them and I filled them with treats. And I was like, how quickly or can either of them actually open them? And I filmed the whole thing. Corvo he had no idea what he was doing. He like gave up.
It's because you got him allowed
after like 30 seconds. No, they were the same gift. They were the same exact gift. It was
Totoro
treats.
has
Their
lower
favorite
standards.
Salmon-flavored treats.
Totoro has lower standards.
Totoro also kind of gave up at first. Then I helped him a tiny bit, but like mostly
the fix was in.
Oh yeah,
that's research bias right there. Were the gifts wrapped?
No, they were little boxes with a cover on it. Like
okay.
Yeah, with a lid.
They're both idiots, but my idiot's
He was
smarter.
able to actually lift the lid with his paw.
It's very impressive.
I just had to bring him back to it.
Hey everybody, this is the MinnMax show.
Anyway, sorry.
We are going to be covering stuff this episode because last week's episode was all about us sitting at this table for an eternity. But I think the number one sentiment in comments, if I may summarize everything, was like, you guys didn't give X game justice. You should have spent more time on this game. Because there definitely were, like, Jedi Fallen Order, where did it land on the list? Somewhere towards the middle. And it's like we never poked too much at that Jenga piece, right? So with this episode, it's going to be the community's chance to tell us exactly why we were wrong and get some more good recommendations out there. So we're going to be calling people up from the exclusive MinnMax Discord and having a random chat with people. I feel like on the Game Informer Show podcast, we tried doing this a couple times of just like letting people call in on Skype. But I think this community is going to be primed and ready, and I can't wait for people just to jump in and give some recommendations. More table setting here. Next week, we will take the week off for the MinnMax show. I'm going to be traveling and stuff, so consider this. If you really want to savor the podcast over the next couple weeks, just pause this one every once in a while. Come back to it every day, just little chunks at a time. Right? There still will be MinnMax content rolling out, just not as much. Stuff like the Great Goatee Hunt, we're going to be picking that up, I think, on January 7th. So the first Tuesday there, so not the first week, but after that. So we'll be back with a vengeance then and with a new episode of the MinnMax show and everything like that. But make sure to enjoy your holiday break. Let's see, more table setting. Hospitals. We got all those donations. Everybody was incredibly generous. We raised over $3,400 from the community, and I had a very surreal experience going to a Target and then just like going to the electronics section. It's like, yeah, I'd like some Nintendo stuff. And like, okay, what do you want? It's like, yeah, I'll take 9 Switches. What the hell? So everyone was so confused.
The security guards just kind of come up, stand behind you.
Yeah, exactly. But it was a very fun shopping spree. I promise I wasn't just like grabbing chips off the rack and like throwing everything into the cart. I was trying to be very smart and judicious about like how many copies of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe do we need here and stuff. But thanks for everybody that donated. That was super fun. We've given it to the hospital. Hopefully we'll have some pictures at some point to share. There is a picture on MinnMax's Twitter and Instagram showing like the complete haul and stuff, which is amazing, especially when combined with all the toys that people brought to the Bauhaus first meetup. Like it's just overwhelming. So it's very sweet. Thank you, everybody. JV, do you want to talk about Star Wars at all?
Yeah, I mean, we can.
Okay, no spoilers.
Wait, Star Wars, are we talking about Fallen Order or the movie?
I want to talk about the movie.
Well, I don't think Elise has seen it.
I haven't seen it
either.
Okay, so no spoilers
shut your mouths.
whatsoever, but you were positive on it.
Yeah, I was not as positive on it as like The Last Jedi, but I enjoyed it. You know, it felt more like a fan convention than like, you know, maybe a traditionally great movie. But
interesting.
I mean, I cried a little bit during it. Yeah, and I enjoyed it. There were definitely like the beginnings rough in terms of like editing.
Fast.
Yeah.
It is insane.
It's like
there's no greater transition or just like difference in Star Wars films going from The Last Jedi, which, you know, is still relatively fast.
It takes its time.
But it feels like it takes its time, right? And then the beginning of this, if you watch those back to back, I think you would vomit based on the speed of everything that happens in Rise of Skywalker because it's nuts.
Yeah. But I liked it ultimately.
Oh, good.
Yeah, no.
We recorded Max spoilers on that. You can find it on MinnMax's YouTube channel, or if you're a Patreon supporter, it should be in the exclusive audio feed. And there were some comments saying like, Hanson, it felt like you were holding back. And I think it was a little bit because it's like, I like being positive. I like talking about the things that were cool in the movie. But then all in all, it's like, I don't think I like that film.
I mean, I think that's fair. Like, especially if you're going off of, if you had expectations that The Last Jedi set up and then this movie not only didn't execute on them, but backpedaled hard on several of them. I think that's absolutely fair.
Right. It's an interesting movie. I look forward to you guys seeing it. Anyways, that's enough of that. Do you guys want to start calling the community?
Yeah.
Sure.
Cold calling the community. Yeah. All right, let's see how this goes. We now have Scott Campbell, known as Stud Muffin, on the line. Hello, sir.
That's right.
Hi, Scott.
Hello.
You
Hi.
are a mod in the Discord, and that was a late entry, but you've done such an amazing job with this community. You're a graphic designer. You've made a sweet MinnMax logo that we will absolutely turn into a t-shirt because we hit our goal of 11,000 thanks to everybody in the community, and so we're going to be making a lot more merch, and your cool logo will absolutely be one of them, sir.
I can't wait. I'm going to buy it.
Great. What's your deal? Why are you so nice?
I found my true purpose in life, and I think I was just born to be a MinnMax community member. So
that's very sweet. Are you a member of a lot of Discords? Because you seem to know everything about everything.
No, I started a Discord and never used it, and this is the first one that I've really gotten into.
Oh wow! All right, you're very smart. All tech questions. He has a very beautiful write up for me, all the colors and stuff in the official Discord. That's all Stud Muffin. Okay, Stud Muffin, what game do you want to champion? What did we get wrong for the big list here?
Okay, it's time to give Fortnite some more love.
Well, it's been nice talking to you, Stud Muffin. All right, we'll talk to you later.
I mean, you guys talked about it in the best moment, which I think it was deserving, but Fortnite did a lot in 2019 besides just blacking out for a few days.
You're right. From a 30,000 foot view, that's all people want to talk about, right? Is that was crazy. All right, moving on.
It was full of crossovers. I mean, we had Stranger Things, Marvel with Endgame, Batman, Star Wars, and even Borderlands. When Borderlands 3 came out, they did a whole section of the map that was devoted to Borderlands. It changed the art style of that game. So, and it's not just skins either. These crossovers include gameplay and modes and new weapons and everything. So, I mean, it's basically becoming the Super Smash Bros. Of the world's largest franchises.
That's a really interesting way to put it. Yeah, you're totally right. And I think, and the gameplay is still fun, or has it just grown to a point now where it's just become a more interesting platform than it is game?
I love the gameplay loop. To me, it's super satisfying. And they even tweaked it a lot this year, so now it's skill-based matchmaking. So no matter how good or bad you are at Fortnite, you can get in there and even fight some bots, so you can get a couple of kills. You can play, and you're not necessarily going to be going up against the expert builders. So, yeah, they did a lot.
What about the creative mode? That's what it's called, right?
I've never tried it, but
really?
For the people who love building games like Mario Maker or Minecraft, I mean, that's going to be the perfect mode for them. Yeah.
Yeah. So you think we blew it by not having Fortnite on this list?
Yeah, you blew it big time.
Okay.
So cool. I'm canceling my pledge, but I'll still be a mod.
Love it. Well, you take what you can get. All right, Stud Muffin, thank you so much for your excellent work and for a really good year so far, man.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
See ya.
Oh, Jacob Geller, we got to give him for Outer Wilds right now, right?
Do we have to?
Yeah.
Okay,
That
here
would
we
be
go.
good.
I'm kidding. I love Jacob.
I was so happy to hear that I was going to be on with JV and Elise, as well as the rest of everyone who's great.
Yeah, I guess we're fine. Okay, so you wanted to champion Outer Wilds, Jacob Geller.
That's right.
Okay, so what are we missing about Outer Wilds other than Kyle not finishing it?
So Outer Wilds, I think, it's kind of like The Witness in terms of effortless learning, that the game is teaching you the rules of how to play through just playing the game, and kind of you don't know how to do something and you wander away and then you come back and you know how to do it. But unlike The Witness, which was totally these kind of abstracted, kind of planes that you were, or mazes that you were going through, Outer Wilds is you are learning laws of physics and kind of scientific theories and all of these different things that tie into, the big story of the game, which is great, but also just gameplay mechanics that you truly had no idea existed. And then you just naturally kind of come across something that teaches you this whole new way to see the game. And it's just the most kind of effortless learning experience I can remember having with a game. And it just feels like true exploration and true learning in a way that I've never felt before.
Yeah, so I mean, your game of the year then.
It is one of my games of the decade. It's probably number 3 of the 2010s.
Wow, that's high praise.
Yeah, I've heard some people say that it's genuinely one of their favorite games of all time. Now, on the other side of the fence, we have JV Gwaltney, who actually reviewed it for Game Informer, and you called it...
I know.
You called it a flaming trash pile? Was that your headline?
No.
Okay.
It's one of those games where, Jacob eloquently made the case for it, and I get it, and I get why people love it, but it was not for me. It was not effortless learning for me. I ran into a lot of, sort of janky sections. It wasn't ever an issue of I don't know where to go. It's I'm struggling with these controls and they're not great and I don't love it. And, there's this weird sort of stealth section later on where you have to sneak past a bunch of really cool looking space anglerfish who insta-kill you and eat you. And it's just, there were so many hurdles that I came up against that made me that made me love the idea of the Outer Wilds much more than like the actual game that I was playing.
Right.
But for people who didn't run into those frustrations, like Jacob here, or anyone else who says, "Oh, it's one of the best games ever," I get it.
Yeah.
It's just not for me. I don't think it's a bad game. I don't think it's anywhere near a bad game. It is just not for me.
Didn't have the spark.
Yeah.
That is pretty much how I feel about it too. It was the controls and the jankiness that really kept me from fully enjoying it. But I think in terms of exploration and in terms of the different planets that you can visit, there is some really cool stuff there. And I didn't play through the whole thing. I never beat it. And it was really just the fact that it was tedious to play that kind of kept me from continuing. But I don't know. I don't know if they've tweaked it or patched, some of those things since then. But
Yeah.
I struggled at least with like the launch version.
It's definitely a game I want to play like 4 years from now. Again, to see like how.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to see if my opinions have changed, because that's happened with games before for
like
me.
No Man's Sky, for example.
Yeah, No Man's Sky.
Well, yeah, but that's not a matter of like patching it, just in terms of like how you will change your perspective on it.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
like Deus Ex Human Revolution. I
Yeah.
played that game when it came out, and I hated it because it wasn't the Deus Ex that I wanted.
Really?
But a couple of years later, I revisited it and loved it.
Yeah.
Because I was a different person. So that could totally be the case with Outer Wilds, but my initial playthrough, I did not love that game.
All right, thanks for calling in, Jacob, and giving us another chance to dunk on Outer Wilds. Now, do you think the ending of that game would have changed Kyle's opinion and would have affected the list? Do you think that he's missing out on a big chunk by not seeing credits roll?
I think that it ends really strong. Absolutely, it has a phenomenal ending. But even better than that is the feeling of when you finally have all the puzzle pieces and then the end of the game asks you to put them all together. And it's like, we call this game kind of like a Groundhog Day type game. In the end of Groundhog Day, when Bill Murray just does everything perfectly, he catches the kid falling out of the tree and he does all of that stuff. It's like, the ultimate kind of test of your knowledge and everything. That is what I found was like the most rewarding thing. And so, yeah, the feeling of finishing it is something that I think is really crucial to the wide appeal of the game.
All right. That's helpful, man. Jacob Geller, do you want to plug your awesome YouTube channel and your video essays?
My YouTube channel is Jacob Geller. Go there and watch me talk about Outer Wilds. I have a video on it.
You do great work, by the way.
Hey, yeah.
I love your videos.
Viewers and listeners,
you so
Jacob
much.
does amazing work. You should go watch his videos. He's great.
It's super insightful.
Learned it all at Game Informer.
Oh, very sweet. All right. Thanks, Jacob. Talk to you later.
Bye.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Hey,
Nice.
that worked out.
Nice guy. He's wrong, but nice guy.
He's a good dude.
All right, what do you guys like? Ooh, let's see. Luigi's Mansion 3, we didn't give enough credit to.
Sure.
Did you play that, Elise?
I have not, but I want to.
Okay. We're calling up
Probably will during the holiday break.
the Lord and Savior here, Flaming Queso, who is very active on the Discord and very helpful. Hello, Flaming Queso.
Hey, howdy, hey, what's going on?
Hey, not much, man. You're on with JV Gwaltney, Jeffem, and Elise and I.
Hi.
Hey, Queso.
Yeah.
You said,
That is amazing. What is going on?
just we're anxious to learn about Luigi's Mansion 3.
Well, my first question is, though, this is important.
Yeah.
Jeffem, I know you love computers a lot, but JV and Elise, are you guys also computer-loving cohorts?
In terms of what? Like coding or
Yeah,
like the
what's the
actual
context?
intricate?
It's a dumb inside joke. That's lovely. My hometown newspaper wrote about MinnMax, and they described Jeffem and Kyle and Serial as my, quote, computer-loving cohorts.
Oh, God. Oh, then
He very
absolutely.
Yeah,
understood
absolutely.
it.
I love
I will be a
the
computer-loving
computer.
cohort.
They're cohorts, for sure.
Oh, yeah, big-time
That name
cohorts,
is
dude.
going to stick around.
Flaming Queso, thank you. It's wonderful to hear your voice and not just see a name constantly popping up in the Discord, but you've been an amazing champion of the MinnMax community so far, man.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's just been a lot of fun, man. That's a great community that you guys kind of put together. And yeah, Discord, like you said, is a Shangri-La, but I mean, even more than that, it ends up being a pretty hilarious place at times.
Those
So it's
stupid
quite fun to
gun
be part of.
emojis, I should be annoyed by them by how frequently they're put in the Discord, but it makes me laugh every time. Just like people have emojis of our faces or just like different faces
no.
and then like different hands of gun emojis. So it's just like this constant standoff with different expressions. And it's so funny
They
to me.
line up amazingly well.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, Flaming Queso, Luigi's Mansion 3. What did we get wrong on our list, man?
you guys said some good things about it. Kyle said some really nice things, but then it ended up just kind of falling off immediately. So I just really wanted to push it back on there. It doesn't have to be at the top, even in the top of the 10 list, but somewhere in there. And here's why I'm thinking it. I mean, because I don't have a ton of notoriety, I'm just a melty pot of cheese, right? Let me give you, let me do a little get a load of this here real quick. Mm-hmm. Get a load of this.
Man, he's got
So on November 13th, a little, some random guy, you guys might know him. I don't know if you know him. Some guy by the name of @TheRealAndyMac.
Oh, interesting.
Tweeted out, had to do some traveling today, and it gave me some time to finally sit and play Luigi's Mansion 3. And I got to tell you, this game is incredibly charming. Love all the little details and interactions in the world. I'm smitten. And he had a bunch of heart eye emojis.
Yeah.
And then one more, get a load of this. Jason Schreier of Kotaku on November 6th said, during a time when everything is terrible, thank goodness for Luigi's Mansion 3, which is just a delight to play.
No doubt.
That was during kind of the Deadspin Kotaku stuff that went down this year. And I think that Jason Schreier one speaks volumes to what I love about Luigi's Mansion 2, and that game is just a delight all the time.
Yeah, and it's really interesting if you want to zoom out a little bit, just like what a strange piece of comfort food it was. Like Kotaku's going through a tough time. Andy's been pretty stressed out this year, and it's fascinating that like this is the game that both of them go to of like trying times in the journalism space. And it's like, oh, but thank God Luigi's still scared of these stupid ghosts.
No, exactly. I mean, and it ends up coming all together. Like it just ends up being a fun time every moment that you're playing that game. You guys put it on your best thing list, which I think is exactly right. But at the end of the day, like the other thing I love about this game is it's so approachable, and it's approachable by everyone, little kids, older kids. Like it's the perfect amount of challenge, and it really has a level of polish that we haven't seen before. And if the only negative thing that was said about Luigi's Mansion is that, oh, it's just another Luigi's Mansion. Well, we haven't had a console Luigi's Mansion since 2001?
That's a great point.
Time.
So,
yeah, for sure. No, great points, man.
I really think Luigi's Mansion should get up there.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's like why in 2017, like I put Breath of the Wild as my number one, even though I've probably like love Wolfenstein more, is because of like, oh, I needed this sort of like joyous exploration in this really bad year.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that's totally a valid reason to argue for a game for Game of the Year.
It is, and especially like it helps so much too when it's like we don't have to speak for Game Informer, and like at MinnMax we can just be like, well, I love this. Kyle loved Pokemon and Luigi's Mansion this year because he played it with his family and he loved it so much. Like I love Baba Is You because it's like one of the few games that like my girlfriend and I overlap on, and we had such a good time playing it. It's like, it's funky, but at the same time it's like we can only go off our experience, and those other people boost the experience,
Yeah, sometimes it's not even just about how quality the game is, it's also your personal experience with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Flaming Queso. Keep up the good work, dude.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You guys keep up the good work. Really appreciate it.
All right, take care, man.
Thank you.
JV, do you want to move your Spy House coffee cup so the Wall of Heroes will get their honor?
That's probably a good idea.
That's totally fine.
Sorry about that.
Interesting. We have... Do you guys want to hear defense? Oh, here we go.
Goose Game.
Yeah, we got to give Goose Game its due.
Oh my God, did Goose Game not make the list?
It did not make the list.
Unbelievable.
What? Yeah. All right, we're calling Belly it.
I'm punching both of you.
All right, that's very fair.
I didn't play it. That's the only reason I didn't have anything to say.
You monster.
I know.
Hello, Belly it.
The goose looks down on you.
Belly it. Belly it. Not
names.
picking up. See, these goose people.
Yeah.
Flaky.
No.
Flaky.
Goose or geese?
Geese.
Do you think they'll call the sequel Untitled Geese Game?
I mean, there's got to be a
It's got
sequel.
co-op?
No, they'll give it a title.
Untitled Geese.
I will put money on that.
Mode.
It will have co-op and it'll be called Untitled Geese Game. Right
There
now.
you go.
All right, sorry, Belliot.
I'm
not picking
sad.
up, therefore no
Goose.
defense allowed.
Goose.
Oh, here's a weird one. Trails of Cold Steel 3.
Is it Kim Wallace?
Yeah, jumping in the Discord. This is Forest L. Forest L.
Do these people know you're calling them?
And it's assumed. Hello, Forest L.
Assumed.
Hey, how are you doing?
Hey, real
Hi,
good.
Forrest.
You're on with me and JV Gwaldney and Elise Favis and Jeff Marchiafava.
Hey.
Hiya.
I was very
Cool.
excited to see you jump in that chat and say Trails of Cold Steel 3. Why should this game get more love this year, man?
It's one of the strongest JRPGs I've played. From the main cast to just like random shopkeepers, like everyone feels like an actual character. Like after almost every major story beat, everyone in town has new things to say. It's like the same feeling you get when you return to the Normandy on Mass Effect after missions. You're like, oh, hey, everyone has something interesting to say. I want to see check in on what this person's doing.
Yeah. It's intimidating, though, because I played the first one a little bit, and it's like the idea of going into the third one now. I remember even Kim Wallace was like, yeah, don't do it unless you're playing all of them.
Yeah, you really have to play the other games to kind of really get it, but if you do, it's just really worth the time you invest in it, even though it's really, really long.
Yeah, just a good classic JRPG.
Yeah, the combat has like a large amount of depth, and to really get through it, you really have to understand not only your party, but like the enemy you're fighting, like good tactics. The UI is like insanely slick, and just like is a turbo mode, which is like the best thing in JRPGs.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, when I was at Game Informer, Kim Wallace spent years like trying to convince a lot of us to play Trails of Cold Steel, and I haven't yet.
Yeah.
But hearing all of like the Mass Effect in particular, like, you know, comparisons, and having a lot of free time now for some reason might get me to hop on that train.
It's weird too, like
Steel.
the fact that this year there's like two. I know Fire Emblem isn't a JRPG, but you know it has some of those trappings. But just that idea that like the two games are both set in a school, Japanese, you know, RPG inspired. It's a weird overlap, and I think a lot of people were like, "Well, I had that itch scratched by Fire Emblem this year." But maybe, JV, you seem like the kind of guy who would actually blast through every Trails of Cold Steel.
It depends, because I just have a bad history with JRPGs in terms of like finishing them.
Yeah.
You know, like it depends on how traditional it is. If it's something like a Final Fantasy old school JRPG, I probably won't finish it just because there's something about the tediousness of those games. But if they're like, if there's like an interesting twist on that battle system, or there's, you know, something there to keep me coming back to it, I'll probably like play through the whole series.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
Hey, Forrest South, thanks so much, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Bye. All right, what else do we like here? Sekiro, people want to fight for. We talked about it a fair amount. JV, interesting face.
I don't want to.
That game.
Here we go. Slay the Spire.
Yeah.
A game that we did not.
Yes.
This is DeFeo who we're calling up here, wanting to fight for Slay the Spire. Hello, DeFeo.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Oh my gosh, your mic sounds amazing. This is Ben Hansen. You're on with JV Gwaltney, Jeffem, and Elise Favis.
Hey.
Hi.
Oh, it's such an honor.
Thank you for your generous donations, by the way, for the sweet toys for sick kids.
Oh, stop it.
Oh, okay. I guess I'll stop. He said he didn't want to be called out. He wanted to be a quiet hero. You wanted to fight for Slay the Spire.
And I will fight alongside him. That game f***ing rules.
I got your back, too, on that one.
Did you just start it, Jeffem?
No, I told you guys that I played it, but it was one of those where it's like, I'm the only one at the table who even knows what this is.
You should have called me.
I know what it is. It's the Dan Tack card thing where you're going through the dungeon.
Okay, it's a good game, though.
Okay, let DeFeo...
All right, DeFeo, defend it. Why do you love Slay the Spire so much, DeFeo?
Well, obviously, I think games that come out in January, February kind of like get lost in the hype of the later year.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a game that I came back to time after time after time. They recently added a third character. They will be adding a fourth character. It first came out on PC, but now it's on PS4 and Switch. I think it breaks kind of the mold of these card-based games. You know, it's not a Hearthstone. It's not like an MTG clone. It's something that's completely different. And in a way, it's like an action-adventure tower climb. And I think that what they did in character and boss fights mechanically is very interesting, because not every run is going to be the same. And, you know, it has those rogue-like elements that, sure, you could like fudge it and always do a dagger build on the silent, or always do like a max block build. But I think that if you love it enough, that you have endless amount of play available to you.
Yeah, it's easily the most addictive game I've played in like the last 2 years. Like I did that Switch thing. I don't know if you guys did it, where you looked at like your Switch stats and saw like, oh, here's how much time I spent playing my Switch. Here are the games that I, you know, played the most. Stardew Valley was my number one because I put like 80 hours into that.
Oh, wow.
But Slay the Spire was right beneath it at like 70 or
Really?
something.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't even think about it. I was like, wow, I really spent that much time with that game, but it's so good, and it's so good at getting you to keep replaying it in single sessions.
Yeah. DeFeo, I mean, do you have a personal list? Where is it in your ranking for the year?
I think that's difficult for me because time invested versus enjoyment is like an odd thing.
Yeah.
I only have 48 hours in Slay the Spire, but it was something that I came back to time and time again.
Right.
It would definitely be in top 3. I personally think my number 1 is Apex. I know PX Sausage wanted to champion that, so I didn't want to take his fire, but I think he had to leave a little earlier. But and my other one would be Teamfight Tactics, and I know that there's someone else that wants to champion that.
Yeah, we'll jump to that one next.
Yeah, it's definitely in my top 5. There's a lot of games that came out this year that I didn't get to finish, so I know that those 3 for me are very important to 2019.
Yeah.
Have you heard of Griftlands, the game? It has a very similar. It's coming out. I don't know what in a year maybe or
something. It's in early access.
It's in beta and early access on Steam, and it has a very similar premise, like game structure wise.
Is it on Steam or is it Epic Game Store? Maybe
it's Epic.
It is Epic.
Oh, is
okay.
it? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but it's from
Epic.
Clay. Yeah.
Anyway, I play a little bit and it's really cool. So it makes me want to go play Slay of the Spire because I've never actually.
You
done
should play
that.
Slay the Spire for you. It's on my Switch. You should
Yeah,
play it.
I know it did that concept first. And
It's very good. It's also on Xbox Game Pass too.
Oh,
Yeah.
there
So
we
you can check it
go.
out
You're
there
out
as
of
well.
reasons not to play it.
But it's perfect for the Switch.
What's that smart thing that people say that like imitation's the highest form of flattery?
That's right.
Yep.
I think. Yeah. I think that Slay the Spire did something kind of super insane because now there's like, up-teen versions of this. Like I never heard of Griftlands before, and I'm looking at it on Steam right now. And there's other games like Blood Card and other things like that bring in this whole build a deck, fight a thing, and do a thing. And I think it just needs to get more credit, more love. And I know it's like a Dan Tack joint, but I love to hear that 3 of the 4 people I'm talking to like it.
It is
sure.
a great game in spite of the fact that Dan Tack likes it.
Wow, great point. Hey, DeFeo, thank you so much for your great work in the community, man.
Hey, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good
Thanks.
one.
Bye. All right, Teamfight Tactics I think is a really interesting choice that we should.
I don't even know what that game
I
is.
have no idea what that is.
Oh, here we go. I know this fella. Let's call him up. Jump to him. This is Nail, otherwise known as Michael Moran, and he's on the Wall of Heroes behind us. Also, I played StarCraft 2 with him.
Oh.
Let's see if he's home. Hello, Michael.
Hello, Ben. It's good to hear your voice again.
It's been so long since we talked, so long since we played games together, man.
Is this really a person named Michael? Because I swear to God, I thought that was Leo.
Oh, no, it really is not secretly Leo.
high praise. That is very high praise.
Yeah, hang on. Tell us a joke. Give him the text. No, you're on with Elise, JV, and Jeffa, man.
Hey.
Oh,
Hey,
wow,
Michael.
that is an honor. Big
Yeah.
fans, guys. Big fans.
It's very sweet. Remember when you cried after a StarCraft game because I beat you so bad?
Yes, I'm still recovering emotionally and
Great.
physically. Actually.
Okay, cool. Thank you. You wanted to fight for Teamfight Tactics.
Yeah, I feel like that whole genre deserves some mention, right? As much as we all love strand games, I feel like auto battlers were the real breakout genre in terms of new genres this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just think it deserves some representation. And like similar to kind of how battle royales went last year, I think the third-ish developer to take a shot at it is the one that really struck gold, and that's Riot.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think Teamfight Tactics is just really simple and accessible, but there's a lot of room for depth, kind of like a lot of TCGs. I'm a fan of TCGs, and this is basically a drafting trading card game, but with a property that I also happen to love. I know it probably none of you guys play League, and Suriel's the only one who seems to be into MOBAs, but it is a really popular property, and I think they made the best auto battler this year.
Yeah, so even if you don't have any love for Dota or League of Legends, you'd say go to Teamfight Tactics over anything else?
I think so. Obviously, if you did like Dota, you'll probably have more fun with Underlords. But
Yeah.
I had plenty of friends who hate League, are annoyed by the community and the game itself and its popularity, the Fortnite of old, if you will.
Yeah.
But they all downloaded this client just to play Teamfight Tactics. I think it hit like they had like 33 million players each month for the first few months.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah. Sure,
no,
but
you're right.
still.
No, you're right. We should absolutely give that tip of the cap this year. It's huge for so many players out there.
Yeah, I think it's the next logical progression with that whole RTS to MOBA to now this, taking away the need to micro and control a lot of units and just focusing purely on strategy. So if you don't like StarCraft like me and Hanson, this is a bit slower paced.
Yeah.
And the MOBA or the mobile version, I think, is coming next year, which should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. Well, hey, Michael, thank you so much for fighting for Auto Battlers, man.
Yeah, thank you, Michael.
Hey, thank you guys.
All right, take care, dude.
See ya.
I don't fucking believe you for a second. That was Leo.
Are you serious?
I don't think he sounded that much like
He sounds
Leo.
like Leo.
There's no way that was Leo. I know it's been a while, but do you remember what Leo sounded like?
The sexiest voice in the world.
It's very good. I like how distinct Leo's voice is. Okay, let's see. Okay, Elliot's trying to call. Let's try it here.
This was Goose Guy?
I think so. Goose Guy. Hello, Belliot?
Hey, hello.
Oh, good God. All right, we tried calling you earlier, and now you're on the line with JV and Elise and Jeffem and I, and you wanted to talk about Untitled Goose Game.
I did, yes. Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, more than a joke. You're saying this holds up as one of the greatest games of the year.
I truly think this is the best game of the year. Yes.
Number one?
I definitely think so. Yes.
There you go.
Okay, why is that?
To me, it comes down to that this Untitled Goose Game is that game that advertisers and stuff, we always hear this kind of repeated thing of like, in video games, you can be whatever you want. But so often the games are kind of the same. Untitled Goose Game is truly a game that we have never seen anything like it before. You're just a weird little goose and you walk around the neighborhood sowing chaos.
Yeah.
It's just a truly unique experience. And I love that they fully delivered on it and did the perfect job with an absurd, weird premise.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. And I think for me, I wanted more of that sheer chaos and less like finicky puzzles, but again, I'm very stupid and I'm not very hip to puzzles overall. Really, what do you want from the future of the Goose series?
Franchise.
I think the truthful answer is I don't want more from the Goose series. Mm-hmm. I want like the more things in that spirit of like, here's a weird idea that shouldn't be a full game, but we've put in the time and effort to make like a really charming full realization of just a strange idea that maybe vaguely relates to something you can see in real life.
Untitled Sabretooth game. Got it.
Sabretooth?
Yeah.
Like a saber-toothed tiger?
Yeah.
What a weird pull.
Yeah, Untitled Woolly Mammoth game. I would play that.
Smart. Was any other part of the Game of the Year debate frustrating for you? Were you listening to it and you're like, oh, they're blowing it outside of Goose Game?
No, I feel like that was my biggest thing. I don't get a chance to play a ton of games, but like the ones that I did play that were on the list seemed great. The ones that I didn't get a chance to play that had high praise, it felt right to me. The only thing that kind of stuck out to me was I was thinking, and I was talking with some of the people in the MinnMax voice chat before this about like Jackbox Party Pack.
Yeah.
And how it is so hard to rate those because so much of it is who you are playing with and if 100%. You have a good time with them.
Right. You might as well just be reviewing your friends.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those games are garbage for me.
Now that Elise has moved, yes.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you so much for your call, Belliot. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks a ton.
All right, take care. Okay, we got so many good ones to choose from. Unprofitable Servant here wants to fight for Division 2, which was one that we didn't give much
Yeah,
credit to.
it's a good one.
Yeah. Oh, you played a lot of it, JB?
Yeah, I'd fight for him.
Oh.
Or I'd fight with him,
yeah.
I guess.
It's a weird thing because it came out and everyone's like, this is really solid. And then I feel like people just, the storyline bubbled up that like, oh, well, it kind of trailed off, so meh. Yeah. But you got to give credit for Ubisoft pulling that off. And I feel like they've been really good at communicating with their audience, too, like their specific Ubisoft community. Oh, it's a shame. Unprofitable Servant.
Not picking up.
Not picking up.
Ooh, Steam.
All right, we'll come back later. What about... Oh, here you go, JV.
Uh-huh.
Oh, actually, here's two for you.
Oh, no.
Let's go for Observation from James Smith here. Great, thank you for swearing just as much. Hello, James Smith.
Sorry.
Hello.
Hey, you're on with Elise, JV, and Jeffem.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey,
Hi, how's everyone?
Doing real good. You wanted to fight for Observation.
I did, yeah.
So you cringed when we cut it from the list for the MinnMax?
I did. feel a lot of hate that I have for you. So.
Yep. All right. Well, that's fair. The show is yours. I've turned it over to you. So, observation. What wowed you about that this year?
I don't know. Like, I'm not a big on horror games myself, but Observation does a lot of stuff really well in like how it scares you, sort of psychologically. So like, there's not some big like monster chasing you or something like that. It's more like it does a lot of really good stuff with the puzzles as well, I think. So it has like sort of less traditional puzzles where it's a lot of sort of space station equipment, and it's all sort of it's very much like how you would expect space station stuff to look, and it sort of expects you to figure it out, but it does a really good job of walking that line of sort of stuff being sort of looking intimidating, but also not being too difficult to understand that you feel like an idiot.
Right. And JV, you love this game too, right?
Yeah, it's like my number 6
okay.
on my Game of the Year list, I think.
And Alien's your favorite film of all time, yes?
Alien is absolutely my favorite film of all time. This feels like Alien in 2001 smashed together and put into a game.
Really? Yeah. With some puzzles thrown in there for good measure.
Yeah.
Well, I guess 2001's the ultimate puzzle.
Yeah, but it's developed by the people who did Alien Isolation, by like 10 people from that team.
Oh, okay, so they left that team and formed this new one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's no code, and they're actually in Glasgow, funnily enough, which is nice.
Oh, interesting. And that's where you are?
I'm near Glasgow, near enough.
Okay. Hey, James Smith, you've been really great in the community. Anything you'd like us to get better at for next year with MinnMax?
No, I think he's doing a good job so far.
Look at that, Jeff.
Awesome.
That was directed at you, buddy.
Oh, I'll take it, even though it wasn't.
James Smith, thank you so much for your call, man. Appreciate it.
Have a good one, James.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thanks.
Bye. What a hero.
He was right. Observation rules.
It is a good game.
Okay, JV.
Yeah, I feel like I have like 5 more games that I have to play now.
I know. I thought I was done with 2019.
I think you'd really like Observation.
Yeah, I think you would too. It does some cool stuff with perspective too.
It's pretty short too. It's like 6 hours.
I wanted to check it out. It's just another one of those many games that I didn't get to.
And that story is wild.
It was crazy to like have that moment of like, wow, we recorded our Game of the Year discussion. I have my top 10 list locked, and it's now I can play anything. And then it's like, well, I got to finish Disco Elysium. Oh, it's insane. I haven't played more Death Stranding. And then you start piling it up. It's like, oh, I'm still just in the thick of it here.
Yeah.
You know? Okay. Hey, JV, this is one for you from the classic Nick from Atlanta, Asian Perk in the Discord.
Okay.
He wants to fight for Monster Hunter World Iceborne.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right, buddy.
Okay.
No need to get defensive.
I don't have PTSD from that game.
Exactly. All right, let's see if Asian Perk will pick up.
I remember you and Kim like beating your heads against the wall with it.
Yeah. Was it a positive experience all in all, or was it just brutal to blast through it?
I'm still recovering. Ask me 2 years from now.
Okay. All right. Oh, by the way, Nick didn't pick up, but let's go back to Unprofitable Servant.
You were in a very bad mood while you were playing that game.
Is it the game's fault?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, Unprofitable Servant.
Yes, hello.
Hello. We were trying to call you a while ago. What game did you want to champion again?
I'm here to talk about Hamilton as the greatest work of all time.
About time, man. By the way, did you see Knives Out yet?
I'm going on Monday.
That movie rules.
I've been meaning to see it.
And there's just a very fun, quick Hamilton reference. It's like, I love it. I love what a weird time and place it is. But okay, realistically, Unprofitable Servant, what did you want to champion here?
The Division 2.
That's right. Okay, make your case. What did we blow by not playing more Division 2 this year?
So I have a short list here, 5 points I'd like to put out there. First of all, it is a great recreation of Washington, D.C. Tons of awesome landmarks. I think best city recreation I can think of in a game.
Interesting.
So that's point one. I think the navigation in that world, the movement is just awesome. You know, the cliche closing the door as you're moving along the car. You know, that's part of it. But I think you can run and jump through windows so quickly and easily. You slide across the hood of a car. It just feels pretty badass, if I'm honest.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I think, you know, the story is not anything special, but there's actually pretty interesting, like, found footage and collectible notes and stuff like that. You can find, you know, survivors debating, you know, the futility of existence and just
Yeah. So like the larger story doesn't really build up too much. Because I know that was a big takeaway. A lot of people were like, I don't know who those characters were. I don't know what was going on there. But just minute to minute, you think there's interesting details in that world.
Yep. And so that's number 3. Number 4, progression through the city as you're clearing out like sector by sector. It's just a nice, satisfying sort of progression. You take a control point and it just happens pretty naturally. I think that was a nice sort of loop. And then finding encounters in the world is just way more natural and satisfying than like Destiny, where you're just trying to avoid people to get to the next thing.
Yeah. Yes, JB.
Okay, I was just gonna say, point number 6: the interiors in that game rule. Like so many open world or like shared universe games with other players, all the insides of buildings look the same. But every single building you go into the Division feels unique. Not even like...
Because it's like an actual museum.
Does it have that like What Remains of Edith Finch effect where like every room feels like very unique?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not even talking about like the Smithsonian and stuff. I'm talking about, office building on the street corner. You know, this looks way different than the other office building, like any other office building in the world. Every place feels unique, even from the big spaces to the small spaces. That never happens ever in that kind of game.
Right. And it's crazy that the final boss encounter is in Elise's apartment. I didn't see
it's actually her cat.
Yeah.
But Unprofitable Servant had number
your
5.
final point, sir.
Yeah. Sorry. Final point. I think they've done a decent job of supporting it post-launch. They've made a roadmap spacing out the releases throughout the year. And it's all free, so good monetization on their part again. I think one of the best things, like you were just mentioning with the environments, the zoo is one of the post-release maps, and it's just phenomenal. You go and have a shootout in like the crocodile lair. It's awesome.
Not since Army of Two 40th Day has there been a good zoo in a video game.
I think yeah, like it's probably the best live service game that came out this year to me in terms of like this is a game that came out this year and they supported it with like great stuff. Yeah. Like from the get-go it was great, and it's been, pretty good support since then.
And I gotta say, I mean, I only played the first couple hours or something, but compared to so many other games in that vein, I think it does an amazing job on ramping.
Yeah.
Which is an unbelievable challenge for that entire genre, right? But it's like I get turned off by complexity really easily, and going into that game is like, okay, like it keeps you moving at a really good pace and doesn't overwhelm you with just menus and numbers and all sorts of nonsense.
Yeah.
Unprofitable Servant, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Take care.
All right,
Have
take
a good
care.
one.
Bye. All right, now we're back to Sir Asian Perk. We all recall exactly what he was fighting for. Oh, I remember now. Monster Hunter World Iceborne. Yeah. Let's bring JV back to the pits of hell together.
Hello.
Hello, Nick from Atlanta.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, real good. Thanks for calling in. You wanted to champion Monster Hunter World Iceborne.
Yeah. So, obviously, first of all, thank you to Ben, Jeff, JV, and Elise for, taking my call.
Wow.
Yeah.
No problem.
Very welcome.
Yeah, I mean, Monster Hunter World Iceborne, I'm not going to talk too much about the base game because, that's kind of been there. But it's for me, it's a lot of the improvements that they've brought to Iceborne. And, kind of with typical Monster Hunter releases before, they have the base game where you have low rank and high rank, and this is the equivalent of the G rank expansion.
Right.
So, they've done the typical thing where they add a lot of new monsters. The roster is nearly doubled, so it's gone from 36 to 66 monsters. But a lot of it is also, just kind of how you hunt. Trying not to get too much into the spoiler area for it, but kind of the real end game area. It has a really cool thing where it kind of brings together different regions from the whole expansion.
Right.
And it's gonna be over gameplay.
That's cool. Go ahead.
Sorry. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, did you were you beating your head against a wall like JV was, or challenge-wise, how'd you find it?
So I've played a lot of Monster Hunter. I mean, like since Iceborne's release, I've done 250 hours.
Oh my God.
I hit 666 hours in the game before Iceborne even released it.
What the hell?
And I have played probably even prior to World. I've put 2,000 hours into the series, just between 3 Ultimate and 4.
That is mind-boggling, dude. Okay, no wonder you love this.
It's probably too much.
What do you think they can go back in the future and not have the what's it called, the clutch claw, or does that just need to be a staple for Monster Hunter moving forward now?
Yeah, I mean, I see that as something that is gonna stay with the series. I mean, like this is one of the mainline. This is like the basically Monster Hunter 5, so I don't see them going back on that.
Yeah.
And especially, one of the additions with Iceborne was the clutch claw attacks, where you can kind of weaken a monster's particular part, and kind of one of the big things of the game is different weapons have different effectiveness for different parts, and the clutch claw weakness lets you kind of take part of like each part's resistance away. So a lot of Monster Hunters specifically like, okay, I need the tail part for this armor piece that I'm making, so you can weaken the tail to make it easier to break and everything.
Yeah.
So I found that to be a really great addition, and the new raid or the new siege really plays into that. That's I know this was very much not a game that the table played, but I was kind of disappointed that it didn't get brought up during the Capcom award.
Yeah, you're right.
Just kind of based off of all the content that they've put out for Iceborne for free, and also how they've listened to like community feedback with the Guiding Lands area.
Yeah. JV, when you look back at your time with Iceborne, do you appreciate the game, or is it just rage for dozens of hours?
Okay. I need to give some background here because it just makes it sound like I played this game and got mad about it. I was on the review team with Kim Wallace, not Tim Wallace. She was reviewing the game, and I was her only backup through it. So I reached a point in the game, like 3/4 of the way through, where we just kept beating our heads against the wall because we needed more players.
Yeah.
And so we reached out to Capcom USA to see if we could round up some people to help us. And they wrote us back, and we're like, "Oh, you guys are ahead of us."
That's insane.
So that's my relationship with that game, is we hit a wall and then spent something like 5 hours on each monster after that a piece.
Yeah.
And it was just so insanely stressful because Kim was running up against a tight deadline.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
and it was much more stressful for her, but being in the blast radius of that was just, oh my God, if I fail here, that's more stress on Kim.
Yeah.
So that's my relationship
to the game.
Do you remember
what point of the game that was?
It was the dragon that rots everything around it. It was like a modified version of one of the dragons in the original game. But it's basically an undead thing where if you touch it, you get the death poison. Yeah.
Yeah, the Black Veil Valhazak.
Yep, that's the one.
That one, that's one of the ones that is really difficult. Like in base Monster Hunter, Valhazak had miasma, which its special effect is it drops your health.
Mm-hmm.
But Black Veil Valhazak has the same thing, but it's got a much more area of control to it. So yeah, I can definitely see that as a really hard point for that.
Yeah. For sure. Well, hey, Asian Perk, thank you so much. Jeff had one final message.
Well, I was just going to say that always makes sense when someone is playing a game that takes a huge investment and they're up against a review deadline. That is absolutely going to change, your experience with that. Mm-hmm. But I think for fans like Nick, that totally makes sense that they would want that very long game that they can invest all those hours in.
Yeah.
So
100%
for giving them that.
Yeah, I didn't intend any of that to be a knock against that game.
Yeah.
That's just my relationship to it.
100%. Hey, Asian Perk, thank you so much, man. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a good one,
Take
Nick.
care.
Thank you.
I saw a very interesting choice in here from Mr. Schaefer.
Minnesota interesting or?
Minnesota interesting. No, I just don't think I know too much about it. That is Surge 2 from Schaefer here.
That is a weird choice.
No one's talked about it this year, have they? No one on planet Earth has talked about Surge 2. Hello, sir.
Hello.
How's it going, man?
Going okay.
Good. You're on with JV, Elise, Jeffem, and myself, and you wanted to talk about Surge 2.
Yeah, so I should start by saying I'm not going to argue this for the top of the list.
Okay.
But this game totally lives in the bottom half. All right, so we've all played the original Call of Duty, and then a few years later, when Call of Duty 4 comes out, you're basically doing the same thing, but it's just so much better, and everything around the outside of it is just right there to hook you.
Right.
This is basically that, but for Dark Souls.
Interesting. Controversial take.
Yeah, I'm going to get some flack for that probably, but it's a game where it's kind of like a near future sort of sci-fi take on the Dark Souls formula, like modern day. So the environments are kind of a fresh take. The combat's pretty good. The character progression is all about getting new weapons and armor from the enemies that you're fighting. So you don't really have to like find any kind of hidden treasure chests and stuff. You just naturally get better as you do combat. And there's a lot of kind of fun, kind of Metroidvania style hooks of just different ways to traverse the environment that are really fun, and the level design makes pretty cool use of it.
Did you have a better From Software experience with this game over Sekiro this year?
I did, but there's no way in hell I can argue that as being, like it's clearly not a better game, but I personally had more fun with it for sure.
Yeah. Hey, cool. I appreciate it. Thanks for the input. Anything you want to see from MinnMax in the next year?
More stuff. I don't know.
More stuff.
You guys do what you're gonna do. I've been enjoying it so far.
That's very sweet.
We will make more stuff for sure.
Yes, we can guarantee more stuff right now as a hot exclusive for 2020. Sweet. Well, hey, thanks for your time, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
I like that choice.
That was interesting.
It's funky fresh.
Explained it very well too.
Funky fresh. Here's a good one. Oh, I want to talk to this person as well.
Streets of Rogue.
Hey, Elise, have you noticed that there's not many women in this Discord?
Hello.
I noticed that.
It'd be nice. Hello, Mike Spam.
I should join it.
Hello.
Yes.
Anyway, hi.
Hello. You wanted to fight for Streets of Rogue?
Yes, I bought it because of you guys, and it's my favorite game of the year.
Oh, because of Leo really championing it on the Game Informer show?
Yeah, it was the new gameplay today that sold me, and I'm so glad.
Oh, wow. This is, okay, so you want to explain? I'll just explain. Streets of Rogue, it's kind of like overhead immersive sim where it's just all about varying your different skills, and the world is constantly changing and surprising you as you're trying to work your way through multiple levels.
And it's the only game that delivers on the you can do anything fantasy for an immersive sim.
Which is a bold claim, but it is so flexible. It's wild. There's so many different jobs and skills along the way.
Because it's a top-down, like, 2D space, they can have a lot more systems in there without needing to support, like, the 3D. You can look anywhere. They can cut a lot more corners, and it works really well.
Yeah, for sure. Streets of Rogue, and don't be confused, it's not a Streets of Rage parody. It's just a roguelike. I wanted to go for something.
I remember playing a super early version of this in like 2017 at GDC.
Yeah.
I really should revisit like the final release because I was impressed by what I saw like way back in the day.
Yeah, and it's available on Switch, so it seems like a great game to play on the Switch.
And playing it multiplayer versus single player is completely different, which is incredible. Just, it does everything it sets out to do so well.
Yeah. Now, Mike Spam, you're famous on the podcast for submitting one of my favorite games, which is the game FAQ trivia.
Yes.
How did you come to that?
I really enjoy writing those.
They're so much fun.
Way back, I was thinking of a game no one's done. I was like, no one's done anything with game FAQs before, so I'm just going to see what content's on the site. And then I saw just a random answer. I said, this is a really stupid question. How many more of these are there?
It's beautiful. Well, hey, again, I know you said you don't want to do it every week. That's totally fine. Anytime you submit that in the future, odds are very high we'll play it on the show.
Yeah,
I think it's
sure.
super fun, dude.
All right.
Dude, I love writing it. It's so good.
Oh,
There's
good.
so many I have to cut.
Yeah, I bet. Okay, well, hey, thanks so much, Mike Spam. Appreciate it.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, let's get a couple more here. Does that sound good? All right. Let's see. There was one that stood out. Oh, here we go. Jim Chatterton, which has to be a fake name.
That is not a game I've heard of before.
Oh, really? All right. He wants to champion Lonely Mountains Downhill.
Oh, yeah. Miller loves that game.
Yeah, for sure. He had a religious experience
I feel
with
bad
it.
about that.
Hello, Jim.
Hello, Jim. Hey, how's it going?
Okay, Jim. We'll let you go because it's unlistenable, but thank you for wanting to support Lonely Mountains Downhill.
Yep, thanks, guys.
All right,
bye.
Anyways, Lonely Mountains Downhill is a cool game. You should check it out.
Oh, hooey.
That is so rough.
That's too bad.
I like the idea that there's just all these fans and they're like doing their own like normal
day-to-day thing.
Day-to-day stuff, yes.
And suddenly
we're
they
just
get a
calling
call.
them out of the blue. And it's like, oh God, I got to answer.
Well, like,
we're
Agent
terrorizing
sounded
everyone.
like he was like driving, then getting out of his car, then going
about
through
to rob a bank.
As one does.
Okay, Aiden also didn't pick up, but hey, Apex Legends, worth checking out. It's free, everybody, and it does deserve a nod. Respawn did a really amazing job with that, and the
had
team's
two
been busting ass.
good-ish games this year.
Yeah. Are you not a Jedi Fallen Order fan?
It's fine.
Okay. Okay. Mr. PR guy has to play it safe these days. Very interesting.
His
Jamie
hot
Goldney.
takes.
Thanks for everybody. I know it was a weird format, but thanks for jumping in the Discord channel. And again, if you're listening or watching this and you want to join the Discord channel and talk to these nice folks on a daily basis, supporters at any level for our Patreon, patreon.com/MinnMax2Ns. You get access to the Discord. Thanks again, everybody. Now we got to move on to some emails. I'm sorry, community questions.
Yeah.
Here we go. Hey, we're a Patreon, Jeff. Are you aware of that?
Oh, we are?
Yeah, we as people are now a Patreon.
Oh.
You know that Patreon lifestyle, JV. You know how this works?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we have wonderful supporters. People go to patreon.com/MinnMax2Ns. The Wall of Heroes in the video version is behind us. If you support us at the $100 level, you'll get on the Wall of Heroes. The good news is this is the last episode, not good necessarily, the last episode of December. So it's going to be a whole new refresh with a good chance to get in on the Wall of Heroes throughout the month of January. Or if you support us at the $400 level, like Hero Richard Mady here, we'll read anything you want on the show. A plug for your wife, your pet, your business.
Anything.
Well, you know, within reasonable.
Anything.
Right.
That's
don't
legal.
do it, Jeff. Don't do it.
I'm going to write in. I'm going to start subscribing at that level.
I was thinking about that just to like troll like Easy Allies or something, which I love. But I was like, I should just support them for 1 month and just write in with the fact that toaster strudels are 3,000 times better than Pop-Tarts, and then they removed those ad reads from their show.
Wait. They believe that Pop-Tarts are better than...
I am still unclear if it's a bit, but if it's a bit, it is the straightest bit I've ever seen in my life.
Toaster strudels are so much better.
There's no question. They're maniacs out there and they need to be stopped. Anyways, the point is, Richard Mady here, he says, hey, happy holidays, Min-Maxers. Are you getting cozy in your brand new VR headset? If so, check out To The Top, a first-person platformer that gives you superhuman abilities and the chance to escape from your family with hours of gameplay. Official PlayStation Magazine gave it a 9 out of 10. It's available on PSVR, Steam VR, Oculus Home. It's 2020, y'all. Take the leap into the future with To the Top. Thank you so much, Richard. I saw recently, this is very heartwarming, like some people in the Discord are like, man, Richard Mady's been such a good supporter of MinnMax so far. Like, I'm actually going to check out To The Top. And then somebody actually streamed it because in the Discord, there's a channel devoted to like community streams, and someone streamed To The Top just as a tip of the cap for Richard. I thought that was very sweet.
Nice.
Oh, that's very nice.
Let's see. We have some questions here that wonderful people sent in. Number one, Mark Cruz. What game surprised you the most in 2019? I'll give you an example. I played Luigi's Mansion 3 and I was blown away. It surpassed expectations and how much I enjoyed it, and I was expected to like the game already. What game gave you an oh boy moment while playing, so to speak?
Disco Elysium, like
just out of nowhere.
I think it does some really ambitious things with RPGs, and I saw it getting a lot of love, but like, yeah, I mean, I didn't realize just how like in depth it would go, and just I think like the idea of just the thoughts in your own brain being like party members is such a weird and wild thing. And yeah, it does some really interesting twists on the whole like RPG and D&D kind of format.
Yeah.
So
do you have a list for your favorite games of 2019?
I'm still putting that together, but I can confidently say Disco Elysium is my game of the year.
Really? And JB, same for you?
Both it and the Outer Worlds like vie for the top spot.
Right.
Because they're so different. Like the Outer Worlds, obviously outside of, I work with Private Division, I do PR for that game, blah, blah, blah. But like also it's such good comfort
He
food.
actually genuinely loves that game.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But like Disco Elysium to me is like, an analog would be like hearing punk rock for the first time or seeing something that totally changes like how you approach like, oh, this is what games writing can be from now on.
Right.
Like it's loud and it's angry and it's raw and rough in a way that like, you know, isn't a bad way. Like it's like, oh man, I fucking want more of this.
I mean, there's a whole lot of things that it like risky, cool things that it does. It goes so into like socio-political stuff, and it And I think just dialogue wise, like we were seeing some games at the end of this year that were really like honing in on that, like After Party and even Outer Worlds. Like you can go through so much of that game and like avoid combat with like the silver tongue and like
yeah.
And I think Disco Elysium just takes that to a whole other level where absolutely everything, like even like descriptions of things, is all of that text is done in like a dialogue form, which is so cool.
Yeah, the thing that I love most about Disco Elysium is that you've had all these RPGs into a greater degree, like fantasy just works and sci-fi works in general, that do this sort of thing of like, I wonder why the elves and, the dwarves and the humans hate each other. I wonder what theme that could be, tapping into. And in Disco Elysium, racism is just racism. Like, people hate your partner because he's Asian.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have a bunch of like white bigots who are like, oh, we hate that guy because he's from like a different country. And like the two philosophies in Disco Elysium aren't like bullshit versions of capitalism and communism. They're just capitalism and communism.
They're just straight up those things.
But it's still a kind of different world overall.
It's a different world, but like those things are like, it's real. It's real. There's no like covering it up with another name to like make it more comfortable. It's this makes me uncomfortable.
I think Life is Strange 2 also kind of does that. Looking at like Trump and looking at modern America through that kind of political lens and not shying away from it, not calling it something else. I mean, they never directly call out Trump, but there's a border wall and there's,
Oh, really?
Yeah, they go very full into like, this is modern America and this is what it's like to be like a Latino American in that space.
Huh. I had no idea that's what Life is Strange 2 was about.
Yeah,
that's because
great.
It's our game that we're sure is great, but we didn't play.
That's true. That's very
it
true.
does it really well.
Do you think like 5 years from now, how do you think Disco Elysium will have an impact on the industry?
I think it's going to be, I think you'll see a lot of RPGs like at the studio level trying to tap into that. I like the AAA level trying to tap into that. And you're going to see a lot of indie imitators. Mm-hmm. Like, I think it's going to have a big effect.
I wonder how much like those imitators, if they'll be as text heavy as Disco Elysium is, because I think that is one like barrier to entry in some ways where like people don't want to read as much as there is in there.
Yeah.
But I think it has like tons of really interesting ideas that I hope we'll see.
Yeah, like the
shape
party
the
members
future.
in your head thing.
Yeah.
That is something absolutely big RPG studios are going to steal. But like I do think you'll see a lot of indie imitators who like assume, oh, we can do a lot of text now and it's not good text. It's just quantity over quality, which is going to suck. But
that's what I'm worried about.
But I do think we're going to see a lot of sort of indie developers and big developers run with the stuff that like Disco Elysium does and the stuff that like Kentucky Route Zero does and just like, these sort of
I hope so.
indie, stylish, heavy on storytelling games do in the future.
Justin Swart says, what's your most anticipated game of 2020?
Cyberpunk.
Elise, what about you?
It's a tie between Cyberpunk or Last of Us 2.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Cyberpunk still, I mean, if all you knew about that was CD Projekt Red is making a Cyberpunk game, have any specifics upped your excitement?
Yeah. I've been excited about that ever since there was that one trailer, like cinematic trailer that was like 20 seconds long. Right.
That released the same day we were there for the Witcher 3 cover story.
Oh, I bet that was wild.
That's cool.
What's that?
I bet that was wild. Like being
it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, I regret not, because one of the features I was thinking of is like, oh, it'd be fun just to like get that studio's reaction. Like, you don't have to reveal anything about Cyberpunk, but just like a video of them like reading the comments when that trailer went up. And now in retrospect, like that would have been huge. That would have been so cool to have for all those years.
I think seeing the E3 demo of Cyberpunk sold me on it.
I was just
like,
about to say that
feels
too,
like a marriage of immersive sim and RPG and a sci-fi cyberpunk city, and that's what I want. That's one of my dream games. And if they can pull that off, and they probably can.
And I think they can, yeah.
Like The Witcher never really clicked with me, and so I was always interested in Cyberpunk after they announced it because, I like sci-fi more and stuff. But it was when I saw the demo that it was like, okay, like they're actually pulling this off, it seems like. And so that's when I got really excited.
I've always been a fan of RPGs in modern settings, and there isn't, and I've dug Cyberpunk for so long, and we don't see it that much in like modern games, especially.
Yeah.
And I think like seeing that again, having that comeback is really cool. And yeah, just like so many RPGs take place in fantasy settings or medieval settings, and it starts to feel like the same thing over and over again.
It definitely. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So I'm just happy whenever like I see this cool take on like modern society or futuristic society.
It definitely feels like there's been a drought of good to great sci-fi RPG since Mass Effect 3.
Yeah.
Like Andromeda was a huge bummer for me because of that. Like that game came out and all they had to do was make something that was like compelling and fun in a sci-fi setting with RPG stuff, and it just was not good.
Yeah.
You know.
We should mention though, Hanson, that unfortunately, Elise, we canceled The Last of Us 2 last week.
We did actually, in the community email section. I'm very sorry. Levi has a related question. Have any of you watched The Witcher show yet?
Heck yeah,
we did last night.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
JV and I watched it.
Okay, Levi says, even with its dark and grim world, I think it's the lore I love the most and would love to live in. If you could... Oh. Anyways, what do you think about The Witcher?
I love it.
Yeah, I love it so far. It's really interesting because I was talking with some folks who weren't connected to the books or, who hadn't read the books or played the games.
Yeah.
And Audrey, my partner, she's watched me play a little bit of The Witcher, but she hasn't like played the games herself or read the books. And so like what she said and what some other folks have said is like it's really hard to follow, what's going on if you haven't read the books or watched, or played the games.
Does it get that deep into like the nations and stuff?
It gets pretty deep in lore
like
stuff.
they don't explain in the first episode, like it's clear that the witches are pretty important.
But you don't really know what's happening or why it's happening.
Unless you've played the game.
Yeah.
So it's that sort of
they
stuff.
don't do a great job of explaining the world. But
it definitely feels like a show that's been made with the gamer anxiety of like, oh my God, is this going to be authentic?
But it's weird because it's based on the books and not the game, correct?
Right, but like the games are so authentic to the books. Like they're literally like sequels to the books.
But the stuff like, the shot of Geralt in the tub and stuff, like they're very cheekily tying into the game.
Yeah, he based his like voice on like the game actor.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like he sounds pretty 1-1. Like it's
Very,
not bad.
like
it sounds good.
perfect job with a gravelly voice.
And like even the way he
yeah.
walks, like looks like Geralt walking in the game.
we
like,
were
emphasis on his shoulders and stuff.
We were noticing, like, even during fighting sequences, like there are certain, like the ways that he would turn his sword, or even the spells he'd use and stuff.
Yeah.
They looked like animations from the game.
The decapitation animation finisher is the same in the show.
Yeah,
it's just like it's just stuff like that.
It was fun,
Very
fun
subtle,
little tie-ins like that.
That's cool. So you're gonna stick with it.
Yeah. So, but it's one of those things where it's like I can't tell if like this is actually because let's see some other people who are like I'm not really into this. Where like I'm so into it because it's the first piece of like video game media in a long time, like adaptation where it's like oh man they clearly like took a lot and it's just like really put together well. Like if I came to the show outside of that, I don't know if I'd love it as much.
Yeah, I'm curious to check it out.
I think it handles like backstories of characters that I really love very well.
Yeah, so there it is. Sutton, this is why I like community emails and questions, I should say. Because people submit stuff where it's like, oh yeah, that's just a good gamer-ass question that I never would have thought of asking. Sutton says, in third-person games, do you prefer the camera to be over the character's left or right shoulder?
Right.
Yeah, right.
I like
characters. Wait, really?
Like this shoulder, right? Like we're from the back and this shoulder.
Yeah, so for me, it's actually camera over the left. So the character's on the right side of the screen. You're saying
Oh,
you want
actually,
the
no, you're
character on
right.
the left?
You're right. I'm with Hanson. Yeah,
I think I
want
prefer
the other
on
way
right.
around.
Really?
Yeah, the other way.
Left side.
Yeah.
So like on Control, the Resident Evil 4, any of those games, you'll do that swap?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think the big thing is I like the ability to switch back and forth.
How often do you do
because
that, though?
Whenever you come to the corner that's on the wrong, where the camera's on the wrong side.
Yeah.
Like there are definitely times when it's like you're trying to peek around a corner or aim, but you need the camera boosted to the other side. So,
I think Sutton, it's a good question, but he's not asking the right question. And the right question is, why is first person the best way to play video games?
Is this your new think piece?
Oh boy.
Yes, exactly.
Boy, I choose not to think about that. Travis Manick has another humdinger saying, hey, is Hook a good movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, back off, internet. It was one of the saddest moments of my life when I looked up Rotten Tomato score for Hook, and it's like -4%. And then actually in the reviews it said, your childhood was wrong, Ben Hansen, which I thought was outrageous.
It's just the Boston Globe flipping you off.
Yeah, but even our Lord and Savior, Steven Spielberg, he bashes Hook more than any other film in his history, more than like 1941 or something.
Hook rules.
The soundtrack to Hook, I argue, top one of John Williams' best scores of all time. That soundtrack is amazing. But what Spielberg says about Hook is that, and thank you for writing in about this, Manic, is he talks about like the set design. He's like, I had such a great idea in mind, and then the sets I feel like didn't really pull it off. It's weird that he's throwing like the set designer under the bus. But like I get it when you look at that movie, it is a little bit like the Lost Boys home. It feels like a soundstage. They're on their roller things going around. But to be fair, I haven't watched the movie in its entirety for a while, but I watched a chunk in a hotel room with Joe Juba like 2 years ago and was like blown away by how much fun it was.
And you also yell bangarang as you run around the studio all the time too.
That's correct. Yeah, right before I give like the countdown before we go live with streaming, and then yell bangarang.
That's why we always look so confused whenever a stream starts.
I felt bad when, this is semi-related, when Surreal joined the office, because we went out, and this was back when I was drinking, I got drunk, and for whatever reason I started chanting Surreal's name like Rufio.
Of course.
Surreal.
I'm sure he loved that.
He adores it.
So like we call game clubs the deepest dives over here. We did one on Outer Worlds, your favorite. And we're toying with the idea of like, oh, we could do this for things outside of games.
Yeah.
And one idea that I had written down was like, be a fun deepest dive.
Hook?
No, Peter Pan. Do every Peter Pan story, every adaptation. Because there's been like weird TV versions of Peter Pan that I wanted to watch and haven't. But I would love to go back and read that original book. Like, in terms of just a world that like everybody knows, it would be fun to just like know everything about it. Isn't Peter Pan up there? Okay.
I mean, I feel like there's a lot of inspiration from Peter Pan, certain bits of Peter Pan and everything, right?
Yeah.
Like fantasy stuff. I really want to see that Pan movie that just got critically panned.
I watched on a flight.
Is it bad?
Very bad. It's just, classic, like, oh, they spent a ton of money on this movie, and for what?
Hugh Jackman's Hook or a bad pirate or something?
I'm trying to remember.
He looks real bad.
He's somebody in the film. There's no doubt about it. Do you like Peter Pan, Elise?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm kind of indifferent towards it.
Indifferent towards the pan.
It's fine.
Okay, that's fine. So you can fly and you can fight, but can you crow, Elise? That's what I've been wondering. Anyways, let's move on. Tom Blackburn says, hello, MinnMax crew. You were right raving about the Watchmen series. Thank you. Thank you. We made it. So why weren't those video games any good? And does the Watchmen IP have any shot of having a good game? No.
I would never want to Watchmen. I mean, it seems like the kind of game that's doomed to get an episodic treatment at some point.
With like, Telltale gone, though?
New Telltale.
Who knows what the... Yeah, how do you feel about the Wolf Among Us thing?
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
I think Telltale employees got screwed over.
Yeah.
That's ultimately how I feel about that.
That's the thing. Like, I didn't even realize during the Game Awards that Telltale... Like, it didn't click with me. It was like, oh, no, Telltale's actually involved in this. And it feels kind of weird.
It feels weird. Like, I don't know. Like, I wanted a sequel to The Wolf Among Us. It's weird territory.
Yeah,
I still feel kind of icky about it.
And I think a lot of ex-Telltale people feel icky themselves about it.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah. Yeah, you wrote that big feature about
I did.
That's one of your best pieces. It was really good.
Thank you.
That's on GameInformer.com, isn't it?
It is.
Can you tell people what to Google if they want to read that?
The Rise and Fall of Telltale Games.
There it is.
And it's on GameInformer.com, yeah.
As for Watchmen, yeah, I just think that show does such a remarkable job of going for something new and not just being, a slave to the past. I think it's really interesting overall. And maybe I should be more generous towards people in the game industry, but I just feel like I don't know if any game company could do Watchmen justice the level that show did.
Unless it's Disco Elysium developers. Then
Sure.
yes. I would play a Watchmen game by the folks who made Disco Elysium because I think that is what that IP would need to be interesting.
Yeah. So looking at this, Watchmen: The End Is Nigh is a 2009 episodic video game series developed by the Danish developer Deadline Games.
That's that terrible combat game, right?
I think so.
It's the beat 'em up that was not good.
Yeah. It scored a B- from 1UP. Okay, Giant Bomb gave it 2 stars out of 5. I would like to check it out. I think it'd be a fun one just to play as like a one-off thing to look at.
It is a game that definitely feels like a beat 'em up, superhero comic beat 'em up before Arkham Asylum.
Right. Different era.
Yeah.
For sure. Tony Arlington says, hey, what type of huggers are you? Hanson admitted in the Discord that he was a pickup hugger. And some of us had a debate about the rest of the crew. I have a feeling that Serial is averse to hugs, but secretly wants one.
Serial is not
I gave
averse
him
to
one
hugs.
last episode.
That's
No,
true. I
Serial
think he's
likes
down
hugs.
for
He
it.
liked it.
Kyle,
No, trust me, he liked it.
And look, with Kyle not at this table, I don't think he's a big hugger. He says he hugs his family a lot, but I think
Yeah,
I don't
we don't
see
have
him
any
as
proof
like,
of that.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'm a long distance hugger. Like I grasp people from afar and just do that. I don't like hugs.
Oh,
From
that's
afar.
natural.
You don't
That-
like
that
hugs?
makes it good.
I don't initiate hugs that much.
I don't
prefer
like
when
human
other
contact.
I prefer when other people initiate hugs. I don't know what that says about me. But
I think we've hugged like 4 times
I
in
don't
total.
really. I'm not a huge hugger.
What do you
to
think
be
it
honest.
is? Is it just upbringing?
I think a little bit. My
Yeah.
mom is not a hugger, so I think I get that from her.
Yeah. I had a weird thing where I went to like a Thanksgiving party. It'll remain nameless. And I got there and I was like, oh, hey, good to see you. And I was like going around and hugging people. And I hugged somebody that I've known for years and years and years, but I guess I've never hugged them. And everybody was like, what are you doing? Like, she does not like to be hugged. And it was like this weird thing of like, I've never considered that. Like, I understand if it's like a stranger, but it's like
Right.
somebody that I've known for like 6 years. It's like, yeah, it's just a hug.
I mean, I don't mind when someone hugs me. I'm just like, it's not my favorite.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know. It's just not something
same
I
boat.
initiate that
Yeah.
much, but I don't really care.
I did that with my uncle once, who's probably in his 60s.
Yeah.
And it was at some kind of family gathering. And we came up and he put his hand out and I sidestepped that hand and went right in for the hug. Because it's like, you're my uncle.
Yeah, that's a little
Like,
weird.
I know you my entire life,
Yeah.
obviously.
Right.
You know, like, you're not getting a handshake from me. That's for strangers. We're family.
Tony says that Jeffem gives warm, lingering hugs.
That's right. There was a whole discussion in the Discord because you posted that creepy picture of me. Like, they said that's the look you do right before you hug people, which is true. Just ask my uncle.
That is true. Chris Bartlett says the new DLC for Borderlands 3 has a mission that takes place in an impound lot, and it makes the classic joke of, hey, look how long it takes to get anything done in these government buildings. It reminded me of a similar quest in the Outer Worlds, no offense, JV, that had you trying to pick up a package at the post office in Byzantium. I think it's a mildly funny joke, but I'm already pretty sick of it with these 2 examples. So my question is, what is the most tired joke or gag in video games? I think it's video games, but then also movies. I'm done with elevator music jokes. I cannot handle it anymore. And it's much more often in TV shows or movies, but like even shows or movies that I respect, when they go for that like harsh cut to quiet, awkward elevator music. So, yeah, we get it. Elevator rides, we got it.
I think the Nathan Drake trademarked, not good, not good, not good.
Yes.
When things are falling apart or whatever.
So I thought of Uncharted 2, and like so many games I think are inspired by Uncharted at this point too. Like that joke too of just like the, oh, don't worry, we're safe. And then, oh, not safe. Like that twist over and over again.
I bet you love Star Wars.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
My big one, which I have hated from the very first time I saw it, is when games tell you, like, when they make fun of their own stupid design, where it's like, oh, another fetch quest.
100%.
Don't do it.
I remember,
and don't try and joke it off as like an excuse for doing it.
I hate when people joke off. Absolutely. Like, I remember when we did the Uncharted 4 game club, weren't you guys? Were you a part of that? Was that before your time?
No, it wasn't before our time, but
Okay.
I was not part of that.
Okay, but in that one, like, it cemented this idea, and Naughty Dog does it a lot, like in Lost Legacy as well. But I think the writing, it's such a weird thing to explain, but I'm in love with this idea. But like, the writing is more honest than the gameplay, and it's like this weird disconnect where, to be honest with these characters and to make them believable, they're now forced to comment on the gameplay. So it's just a lot of like, oh, another wave of enemies? I thought we were done with these guys.
Oh, yeah,
like
sure.
that exact thing of like, oh, another fetch quest? It's like, clearly there's a problem here, guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you knew it was frustrating, and you're just trying to paper over it with a joke that's only pointing out and making me focus more on this frustrating thing that I have to do for your game.
The only variation of that I've ever come close to liking and was still annoyed with is in, I think it's in Blood and Wine expansion for The Witcher 3, or maybe the one before that, where you have to go and like to collect your inheritance, you basically have to go to a bunch of like desks in a bank and just fill out paperwork and stand in line and hear Geralt go, ugh, and just have very human like complaints for a little bit. I think that's the only time that's ever worked for me.
There's a fun twist in Minute too, actually, relating to just standing in line.
Yes.
Yeah.
JV, did you ever play Bureaucracy, the Douglas Adams text adventure?
No, I know what you're talking about, but I never played it.
I've been wanting to play it my entire life because I love the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy text adventure. And in Bureaucracy, the entire point is it's just a character trying to change their mailing address, and then it just like descends into like this calamity and the world's exploding
Douglas
and stuff.
Adams experience.
Yes, exactly. But I think it'd be super fun to try and play that as like a radio play at some point, MinnMax. Bob Buell, staying negative, thank God. He says, simple question to the computer-loving cohorts. What's the absolute worst thing about your absolute favorite game ever?
Mass Effect 2, the baby boss at the end. The space baby.
Baby boss.
Yeah. I mean, like, I
The
love
original
that game.
boss baby.
Yeah, and it doesn't annoy me, but like, that's easily the worst thing.
Worse than scanning the planets?
Yeah, I don't mind scanning the planets. I think that's pretty chill.
I think I've got 2 things for The Witcher 3, which is my favorite game ever.
Oh, wow.
The first thing would be the combat, which I think could have been way more polished. The second thing is I feel like it overuses that whole like Batman detective like
vision
feature where you're just looking around for, you know, footprints and paths and things. It's just done a lot.
Yeah.
Could have done without it, but everything else in that game is perfect.
That's why whenever I play through that game, I just set everything to easy, and Geralt just slashes everyone to bits.
Yeah.
Yeah, the combat's kind of a pain. So
if I'm thinking about like replaying my favorite game, like what would be the thing I would dread the most? And it's like, okay, Shadow of the Colossus and Final Fantasy VII are like up there. It always flips back and forth if you include nostalgia or not for my favorite game, but like Shadow of the Colossus, I think it's like the horse thing. Getting the horse, I think it's the 4th Colossus to like bend down and like look at the thing.
Some of those controls from the original.
Yeah, well, the original for sure.
I hate that fight
rough.
with the serpent in the water.
Oh, really?
I mean, I know it's a cool spectacle, but it's really a pain.
So the one you have to
like,
jump on
grab-
top and like bang the things?
Yeah.
You mean the one that you have to like grab as it goes underwater?
Yeah, that one.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about the other one.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool from an outside perspective when you think about it. You're like, oh man, I just did that and that was wild. But like the mechanics of like making it
It's kind of tedious,
Yeah.
gameplay wise.
Or in Final Fantasy VII, I think of after the snowboarding sequence on the second disc, then like when you get lost in the snow. I think that's the part that I would dread the most going back to.
My favorite game is Tetris, so there's not much
That's
wrong with that.
perfect.
I mean, if it's a bad version of it, then they're stupid control things. But I think a runner-up would be Link to the Past, which is when you get down to too low health, they have the beeping, but it just goes on forever.
Oh my God,
It's like,
yes.
I get it, man. That's a product of its age, you know.
That game, but that was so annoying.
Yeah. Rory Steeler, friend of the show, Rory Swordkidor himself, he says, do you foresee MinnMax content creating documentaries like The Secret History of Volition? Apparently Rory really liked that video at Game Informer. Yeah, I would love to do more dev stuff and documentary stuff. Hopefully in 2020 we can have a big splash when we launch that. But it's just a matter of, I think it'll be nice to be out of like the crazy crunch zone of games and just try and get a better feel for like what level of content output is sustainable for MinnMax and stuff.
Yeah, you guys did a good job of like lifting off during the busiest time of the year. Like having to do that, I do not envy you because it was like what? September,
October 23rd.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's like the week that
Yeah.
everything comes out.
It was. Yeah.
You guys did a really good job.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was a conscious choice on our part.
Grizzled Gaming says this time of year is about getting better and self-reflection. That said, who has been the most influential person in your career up to this point?
Matt Burtz.
Oh, dang it. I was just about to say that. You did
only
that
one of you
thought
can have
plagiarism
Matt
again.
Burtz.
Stop doing that.
No, I think Matt Burtz, he's former managing editor, Game Informer.
Yeah.
He was just, I don't think I've ever had a boss that managed to balance being a friend who genuinely cares about me as a person, but also someone who wants me professionally to be better.
Right.
And he walked like that fine line really well. He fought the battles alongside me that were like worth fighting, and then he's just a great person.
He had your back in like really tough situations when it sometimes felt like no one else had your back.
Right.
And he would take me to task too when like I screwed up something or I wasn't doing something as well as I could have. He'd be like, okay, look, this is what we need to do. And it's very important to have that. And also it's been because I've had to do that. I've had to be on that end of the thing or that side of things before too. So that was also like good instruction on how to be that person, you know, to give bad news or whatever. He's great. He's just a good person.
He was really easy to talk to, and I think as someone who had like a lot of health issues or has a lot of health issues, like it was always he was always really good about listening and trying to understand. And he also just in terms of his work, he is a really fantastic editor. He's a really good writer, and I think I looked up to him even as an intern. I looked up to him, and then I think I look at my career and how far I've come, and I think so much. I don't want to say I owe anything, but I think it's thanks to a lot with Bert's believing in me.
Wow.
I mean, he hired me before I even had like a degree. I was working for Montreal, and I was still working on that journalism degree before I moved, right?
Yeah.
So I think like he saw something in me, and it was like a leap of faith a little bit, and ever since then, I mean, I still talk to Bert's regularly, and he's still like a mentor in a way, and a friend, right? So,
it feels different now. I feel like Bert's is more like we're friends and we play games and stuff, but he's like a cheerleader in the background going, hey, yeah, do this. You can do this. You got this. You're
he
great.
is so proud. He's like office dad, and he will always have that that title in my head, I think.
Yeah.
You know, even though we're not in the same office
He's definitely
anymore.
an office dad.
But he's so proud. I remember he came and visited in DC. He was there for a consultation gig he was doing, and we met up, and I just saw it in his face right away of just like how proud he was.
Oh yeah,
and I love that. It made me feel really good.
He's such a good dude.
Yeah.
Not to plug a Patreon, but hey, I'd argue this week, if you're a Patreon supporter, there might be an exclusive discussion with one Matt Bertz.
Hey.
Which is nice. It's fun to like take notes. I'm like, yeah, what do I want to ask Bertz more than anything else? And so we get into some
He's
things.
also just been in the industry for a long time.
Right. So he gives some writing advice. Oh yeah, for sure. We bring up something that we argued about more than anything else. Like when I think of like the era with Matt Bertz at Game Informer, it's like, oh, there's that one thing where every 6 months we'd argue about this, and it would drive me insane and stress me out so much. So we unpack it all in an upcoming video and audio thing.
I would also say Bertz.
Really?
Well, yeah, and it was the same kind of thing. I have another answer that I will get to in a second, but I want to say that it's also that thing where whenever you had a cover story or a big feature, like he would be the one to do the first pass on that, and that was always just terrifying because you knew he would not hold back. But then it always felt so good when you do edits or whatever, and he'd be like, "Yep, I pushed it through." And it was
because it went through the fire. And
as soon as you get that thumbs up of it's been pushed through, you're like, okay, this is the best it can be.
And it was that not only are you done having to work on it, but at that point you knew for sure it was good.
Yeah.
And there was also another feature. I think it was E3. I had to do like a summary of the entire E3 or whatever, and the assignment on it was very wishy-washy, and so I kind of just wrote it as like these bite sizes, very sarcastic things that I put together and turned it in. And he was a big fan, but it was an extended conversation with production and everything of like, oh, we don't know if it's going to work. How are we going to get it through? And he was the one back in the bullpen, just like, we got to do it this way. Like, I'm really happy with how Jeffen put this together. I don't want to have to re-edit it or anything. And he was like the biggest champion for that. And that always felt super good. Yep. The other person I wanted to call out, because we've talked about Bert so much, is Joe.
Oh yeah,
Joe
been a
is
huge
fantastic.
Inspiration just
Joe
in terms of figuring out how to
Joe Juba.
write reviews and stuff. Yes.
Yeah.
And he was another one who he would always find any of the little holes in your reviews, which is especially important with reviews because
especially
people,
like argument-wise.
love poking those holes, and so he would figure that out. And in terms of getting stuff cut down and just kind of all of those procedural things, there were times when it was like, I don't know how I'm going to cut this down. I can't cut this down. And then you finally get through it, and it's like, oh yeah, the review is so much better because of the work that Joe had me put in.
Joe always pushed you to be your best, even at like the cost of like you being annoyed with him. You know, like I always felt,
which would happen a lot.
Yeah, I always felt like I was like defending a thesis whenever I turned a review into him, of like going before a board who would like know every weak point, and like every review that came out but went through him like was better for it.
It's like your work is put on this pedestal, and then you have you and Joe like having this big debate about its content and your arguments, and
Joe's wearing a toga, of course.
Right.
And in the long run, you're thankful. But like I remember talking to several editors who were like, "F this! Like I'm so frustrated going through this process with Joe over and over again."
absolutely points with that are very frustrating.
I've been pissed Joe over reviews probably more than any other editor over like work stuff, but
Right.
he was pretty much always right, and like the review was always better for it.
I mean-
and I got over being pissy. You know,
Well, yeah, and there are still things that I would disagree with that about reviews and stuff, but
Yeah.
that was, you know, Joe making sure everything fit the way that Game Informer did reviews.
Yeah.
And so
Yes.
sometimes, you know, things would fall out of the boundary of that, and you know, we would all have legitimate arguments for why we like the way that the review was structured or whatever, but it always made sense for fitting into Game Informer.
Yeah, for sure. Did you guys watch that Mr. Rogers documentary?
I haven't yet.
Okay, there's the new narrative movie,
yeah,
right?
sorry, I saw it.
But the
Yeah.
documentary, like,
It was
there's
good.
that amazing bit where it's Mr. Rogers, and I believe he's at the Emmys, where he's on stage and he's like, "Hey," I'm not going to do an impersonation, but he's like, "Hey, I just want to take this time on stage," and he asked for a minute apparently, but he only got 10 seconds. But he's like, "I just want to take 10 seconds, and everyone just be quiet during this television broadcast in this entire auditorium." He's like, "I want everyone to take 10 seconds and think about like the people that got you to where you are right now, and just give them some thanks in your mind," right? And it was 10 seconds, and it's amazing because it's cutting to people in the crowd bawling. Like that's all he has to say, and it's so sweet that like this question from Grizzle Gaming, it's like the same effect, right? It's like, oh my god. Turns out it takes a lot of people to get everybody where they're at.
Yeah.
Totally.
Anyways, okay. You can take the 10 seconds after this show because we're not the Emmys. We got to keep moving. Hans Kleinenberg says, "Why are the Game Awards not at the start of the year?" I can literally think of no reason.
I was there, and it was very interesting to see people like frustrated with Jedi not being on there.
Yeah.
Because it missed the voting deadline because it came out in November.
Well, the deadline was November 15th, which was interesting because Pokemon was not also on there. And it's like, well, that released the 15th, but I guess it's just however that works out.
Which is weird because that meant like Smash Brothers was a Game of the Year nominee this year.
Yes.
So it's a thing people definitely talk, because I know we've always talked about it when we were at Game Informer. Like, why are they doing it like this?
Yeah.
Just as many people talk about it down on the ground when they're there.
So other than just, I'm trying to think, other than just like this is the time when the industry talks about it, most likely because they want to prep the content before they go out on vacation and Christmas break. And
I think that's probably like the Game Awards needs to prep all that content, like video stuff, you know, so they have to get the deadlines in by then, because you know they have to.
But why not do it at the start of the year though? You know, is it just so that it doesn't seem outdated?
I think
Maybe,
so.
yeah.
And we had that conversation about something or other here, where it's like, you know, you get a week or two into January, and you just feel like you're behind everything else. You're behind with the conversation.
Yeah.
Everyone's having that conversation now, you know. So I guess you want to
because that
be part of
also
that.
means like that show like needs ad dollars. So I'm imagining it's a much dicier proposition pitching that to advertisers in January and February when the conversation is already passed.
Yeah, for sure. Lewis Kane has a very timely question. He says, "Hey, why in It's a Wonderful Life is Mary wearing glasses, a nice cardigan, and going to the library, one half of which George admits to doing earlier in the film, the worst possible fate for her? It really makes me think. Compared to a few other people in George's life, I felt like Mary really got out all right, and Capra phoned that one in a bit." Yeah, there's no doubt about that. It was a bad call from Frank Capra.
Very, very good seasonal question.
I love It's a Wonderful Life. I remember when I interviewed Jeff Goldblum, which was weird, last year. Before we started rolling, Jeff Goldblum, he just did not stop like quoting movies and then going like, "Who said this? What's this from? What's this from? Ooh, remember this? Ooh, my lips bleeding Bert. My lips bleeding Bert." And I remember I was like, "Hey, that's from It's a Wonderful Life." And he's like, "Ah, yes, It's a Wonderful Life. Frank Capra, 1941." Whatever the hell. It's like,
Wow, okay.
It was very bizarre.
Are you watching the documentary series?
The Disney Plus
one?
thing? It's too much. I think I'm Goldblumed out.
you're good.
My sister he always sends me articles about Goldblum, thinking that we're like best buds, and it's like I'm good on him. I watched his gaming episode, and it was like, it's about what you expect from, you know, it's like, esports are worth how much? You know, okay,
Oh, boy.
I got it.
Yeah.
But I read Frank Capra's autobiography, and it was a lot of him like kissing his own ass and talking about what a genius he was, which is fine. But he claims that he invented the teleprompter in that autobiography, and it always stood out to me because he said he was filming like a documentary series, the Why We Fight series, I believe, during World War II, and he was filming something with Winston Churchill, and he said that like Winston Churchill couldn't get his lines right you know, that hack. And so then he ran and cobbled something together, which became the teleprompter. But
Oh, wow.
I don't know if that's actually true. But that's what he wrote in.
That
right?
is interesting.
And Jave, if you're wondering why it smells like the room's on fire, the candle went out.
Okay.
So nothing's melting down.
I was
in the
wondering
next-
if it was that computer down there. I was like, is this going to explode in my face?
Oh, yeah. Things are a bit rickety, you know? Okay, Brady E. Sure. He says, hey, you've just gained the one-time ability to make one type of thing either larger or smaller. You pick the item, you pick the size. Want cats the size of horses? You can do this. Is baby corn not small enough for you? Shrink them. How about apples just slightly larger so as to be just a bit more filling? Yum. The choice is all yours. But remember, you can only change one type of thing.
I like the idea that you would waste that on corn or apples.
Shrinking baby corn is a very funny idea.
I would make gold bigger.
But wouldn't that just, the economy would scale to that?
It doesn't matter. Not for me.
Your private collection of gold? How much gold you got in your house? And what's your address?
Well, none, but I would get gold.
Okay, all right.
I would go out, buy one gold ring, make it huge, chop it up.
How
there
big?
you go.
I have to choose that.
Yes.
I would make it this big.
He's making about, I don't know.
Like a hula hoop size.
Right.
Still small enough to hide in a house or something.
Where are you going to hide that?
Doesn't matter. You just... You melt it down and you make gold bars and then flood the market.
Sounds like a lot of work.
And I'd be rich by the time gold goes down the
I like the idea of you like rolling this giant snowball of gold to the
big
bank.
nugget.
That's right.
Yeah. Hello, how much is this worth, ma'am?
I'd make Elise's cats massive just so that'd be a new problem
You
for her to
already
deal
say
with.
that they're massive enough.
Yeah, but they'd be even bigger.
Smart. I would shrink the penis on Watchmen. Okay, next one. Did you have one, Elise, you wanted to share?
I'm good.
Okay.
She can't follow that.
Victory Nub says, hey, yeah, exactly. It says, any thoughts on possibly cutting commentary tracks for the MCU Infinity Saga? I know 22 movies is a large ask, but your Star Wars commentaries were a lot of fun. Thank you.
22 movies.
I can't do that. Also, I love Blank Check, and on their Patreon, they did that for every movie, and I listened to so many of them. I wouldn't want to do that because I feel like it would... I
You'd
just
just be
repeat
talking
their
about Blank Check
points.
the entire
Too
time.
many bad movies to watch too, man. A lot of those movies suck.
You're wrong.
Every single one is good.
I think every one is the worst the MCU gets. I think is a fine film, which is what I would put Iron Man 2 and Dark World in.
All right, man.
Which
Incredible
one sucks?
Hulk? The
That-
early
yes,
ones?
I think that's also a fine film.
Any Iron Man that isn't Iron Man 1.
You seem like you would love Iron Man 3.
I hate Iron Man 3.
Why are you so unpredictable? That is your movie, baby. It's just a cold, weird Shane Black film about PTSD, and anxiety attacks. Like, it's fascinating.
I'd rather watch, was it Kiss Kiss Bang Bang?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather watch that.
Well, of course there's movies you'd rather watch, but...
I would just rather use that time to watch Kiss Kiss Bang Bang than Iron Man 3.
I've never seen Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. I should probably fix that, right?
You should. I think you'd like that a lot.
Yeah, I probably would. Let's see. Oh, here, do you guys want to do some acting or not?
Sure.
Okay. Elise did not react. Neil Brown writes in and says, hey, MinnMaxers and Diddly Doodads, hello. I think you guys have been too nice recently. What is this? This is like the holiday episode, everybody. I want you to recreate the time a game pissed you off the most and have the others guess what game you were playing.
Oh, boy.
Okay, so I'll go first. I don't know about the most, but okay. All right, for the audio listeners, well, I guess this is for the video only, right? This. That was about the extent.
How are we going to guess that?
What game was that?
Yeah, that's a terrible clue.
Bloodborne.
No, that was Control when it crashed on the end boss, like right towards the finale there. And the checkpoints.
The Control
sucked.
experience.
Yes, exactly. Does anybody else want to give it a shot?
Pissed me off.
No,
All right.
you had your
All right.
control
Davey's
out
at
already.
10 and 2.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
That's every game,
Yeah, I
guys.
know. Like, how are we supposed to guess?
Blood. No. Monster Hunter Iceborne.
No, it was actually Dark Souls. That's the only game I've ever thrown a controller during.
Okay, fair enough.
All right. Okay, I have one.
Yeah.
Okay.
She
I like that you
And I'm
jump
hiding.
after you
I hide.
You hide?
Yeah.
Why you hide?
Until Dawn. It's something scary. PT.
No. You're not gonna guess. Maybe you will. Should I go? Should I say it?
Yeah, what the hiding?
It's when you encounter the first large fuzzy spider in Skyrim.
Okay, good.
Or when I don't say you.
Fuzzy spider.
Hated those spiders. I love Skyrim. Hated that moment.
All right, Jeff.
Okay, imagine I'm 8 years old, maybe 6,
Yeah.
and I'm crying as I say this. She passes me at the finish line every time.
Mario Kart.
Yes.
And your mommy?
One time in particular, I had a total breakdown and cried because I would play with my brother, and he was really good, so he would be first by a mile. And because of the rubber band AI, Princess Peach would always pass me, like right at the finish line.
Yeah.
And I would get knocked down to third place.
Oh, no.
And at one point, I finally had a breakdown. I just couldn't take it anymore.
Mike Sokak says, afternoon, Ben and the Hansonauts. They didn't agree to be called that. I'm interested, this is a very specific question, I'm sorry. I'm interested in getting into the RTS genre, but I'm a novice to it at best. I think the roadblock for me is the strategy part of the title. I'm not interested in an RTS that demands chess-level strategy and combat where you win or lose by the smallest of margins. I'm more interested in managing or developing a city, society, etc., where it's more about progress than conquest. Civilization games come to mind, but I hear they can be pretty hardcore. Is there a game that comes to mind that fits this description?
City Skyline.
But RTS in particular, I know this is like one of those things where it's like, yes, I have it exactly. Rise of Nations.
Oh, yeah.
Which is like a 2003 game. It is like a perfect blend of Age of Empires RTS series and Civilization. It's from Brian Reynolds, one of the designers of Civilization. And they re-released it, and they have Rise of Nations Extended Edition on Steam. I'm guessing it's pretty cheap. I think they re-released it in like 2013 or something. It is exactly what you're looking for, Mike. Not too complex. It'll give you some RTS thrills, but at the same time, it's just about building up a beautiful society.
Cool.
There we go.
You could also do Tropico series, I think.
Is that? That's more simmy than RTS, though. Yes, I've never played Tropico.
At least the original ones, no.
It's an RTS.
Yeah, it looks more like an RTS.
Really?
Yeah, and you're still like sending guys out to collect resources and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think it's in real time.
Do you guys want to close things out with some trivia?
Sure.
This is from friend of the show, Blake Kibbe. He says, "Hey Ben and the Maxers, I listen. I think we've played this before, but it's still fun. I listen to a lot of video game soundtracks. Let's see how well you know them. I will give you 3 tracks from a game soundtrack. You name the game."
Okay. I'm so screwed.
Okay, ready? Do you want to buzz in saying your names?
Sure.
Okay. Everybody gets one guess. The gun pointed at the head of the universe. It's so blowhardy, but
I thought we were going to listen to the music.
Oh, no. This is just the title.
Oh. It's gonna be
Lament for Private Jenkins.
Oh, Mass Effect.
Incorrect. 3, Covenant Dance.
Halo.
There we go. Halo Combat Evolved. The gun pointed at the head of the universe. What are they smoking? Okay, here we go. Ghost of Ratman. Turret Wife Serenade.
Jeffem. Portal.
Incorrect.
JV, Portal 2.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I should know. Yep.
Number 3, the part where he kills you. That's very fun. Oh, this is interesting. Cycling. Hall of Fame. Evolution. Just the track names.
I know.
Cycling. Evolution is the biggest clue. Okay, I'll let you guys think for a little bit. Cycling. Hall of Fame. Okay, maybe this will remind you.
Oh.
JV!
Pokemon.
There we go. Well
I
done.
saw. I couldn't answer because I saw.
Yeah, I
them.
literally had to hold up the laptop. That's good. That's a good thinker. Okay. Let's see. Oh. Okay. All right. Number 1. The Honeybee Inn. This is not the right table for this. Number 2. Infiltrating Shinra. JV.
Final Fantasy VII.
Good job. Okay, here we go. Last one. The Beast. Shrine Blessing. The Last King of Hyrule.
Oh.
Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild. JV, I like you replaced your name
Yeah,
with just kind of clawing your hand at the table.
Well, I won. So.
Very tricky. Thanks for writing in, Blake. Thanks for everybody that submitted questions ahead of time for this episode of the MinnMax Show podcast. How you feeling, Elise?
Good.
I know you haven't really had like a microphone ready to go at all times in the last several months. Is there anything you want to communicate to the world? Let the folks know.
You can keep following my work at the Washington Post.
There we go. Okay, we have this segment on this show that we like to call Get a Load of This. Okay, JV, do you have something that we should get a load of?
Yeah.
You got to start it by saying "get a load of this."
Yeah,
though.
Jeff,
Otherwise
really
it doesn't
pushing
count.
this.
I'm pulling it up.
He's been on the show before.
I just
Jeff.
want to make sure everyone understands.
You're
how
really
it works.
snooty about this format, Jeff. It's
got to be
rigid.
official.
Yep.
Okay. Get a load of this. The Alamo Drafthouse tweeted out this statistic that 21 people across the country at their theaters watched both Rise of Skywalker and Cats back to back.
What percentage?
Like 21 people.
That is a
21
like the
people.
Alamo Drafthouse audience is very specific. Do you think they're doing it like tongue in cheek with the cat thing, the Cats thing?
I don't know. Can you imagine that experience though?
Oh
like
my
walking out of
God.
that
I
3-hour
can't.
movie and just going into something that's very horny and unpredictable as
Is it
Star
horny?
Wars.
It's supposed to be.
People have said it's
Yeah.
boring. I've seen that headline,
There
yes.
has been reviews that call it that.
Now, as fans of Cats, are you two going to go?
Oh,
I'm
I'm going.
absolutely gonna
I'm
see
so
that movie.
excited. I'm genuinely so excited.
Some of
I'm
them-
gonna have a lot of fun. It's
I-
bad, but
I want to see it so bad.
I'm
Yeah.
so excited.
Woof. All right. Hey, neat. Jeff,
Yeah, get a load of this.
yes, please.
My wife lost her mind this week,
I'm so sorry.
and because we had a giant pile of clothes in the bedroom for a long time, she said she's sick of it. She wants us to cut down the amount of clothes that we have, out in the bedroom. And so she
Hell
said
yeah.
I should cut it down to 7 pieces of clothing was the initial volley.
Wait, for like in your dresser?
Yeah, like 7 pieces of clothing that I would wear.
What?
Yes, it was insane, and that was counting pants. And I was like, "There's no way that's ever going to happen."
Wow.
We, negotiated back and forth, got it to 15 T-shirts because most of it's T-shirts. We're not counting socks and underwear here or whatever. But so I had to go through my shirts. Still didn't get down to 15. But basically, long story short, I cut the amount of T-shirts that I had out in about half.
Yeah.
I didn't do the full Andy McNamara give away all my T-shirts.
Yeah.
But it went through the process of going through all my shirts, saying, okay, these I never wear. That's easy enough to get rid of obscure, video game T-shirts I would never wear anyway. Then it went to the shirts that I do wear, but I'm never really happy to.
Yep.
It's kind of laundry day kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it was actually nice getting rid of those. Then it got down to the level of, okay, I wear these shirts, I like them, but do I like them enough to keep them around? And we kind of went through the entire, Marie Kondo, what sparks enjoyment and stuff. And by the end, I was actually very happy. I was happy that we went through it, and I did feel much better about getting rid of stuff. And I will point out,
Yes.
JV, this one made the cut.
Yeah.
I'm still wearing this one.
Heck yeah.
I got that like Christmas, like 3 years ago or 2 years ago.
Yeah,
or
it's like a Jurassic Park Horizon Zero Dawn mashup.
Red Bubble.
JV, this was a fascinating little moment in your time at Game Informer because one Christmas you just bought everybody presents. and it's like,
he
did
got
you have,
every
like,
single person a gift.
Yeah, did you have like a
Knickknacks.
gift certificate?
No.
You just spent a ton of money buying
It wasn't
everybody?
actually that much money.
Oh, really?
It was like $120. Like for everybody in the office, it's not bad.
I was very impressed.
Yeah.
It was very sweet.
Tell me where this lands on the jerk scale. I think it's high up there, but it should be fine. You gave me a wonderful Metal Gear Solid mug.
That you put in the auction thing.
Did
I
you
saw
notice
that. I was like,
because we had a Metal Gear Solid themed auction
I'm not
Extra
upset
Life.
about it because like if
Okay.
you're not drinking out of it or whatever,
Yeah.
and like we can give that as like something that gets people to give money to charity.
Then why not, right?
Yeah.
I was amused. I was
Okay.
not upset.
I would be slightly annoyed if I was
Gave
you.
it away. I did not give your shirt away, JV, and I love it, and I wear it all the time still.
I mean, you're
because I
already
value it.
higher on my list than them.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you're
yeah. Oh,
good.
absolutely.
But anyway, The main point is, it's the end of the year, new year starting. Go ahead and challenge yourself to try and minimize those kind of things.
Yeah,
because
we had to do
you'll
that
appreciate
before we moved in together. Audrey and I got rid of a bunch of clothing for both of us, and it does feel nice to not have all that extra stuff lying around.
It becomes a weird burden of just
excess things.
I might wear this one day, so I should keep it around.
Will.
Years go by.
Yes,
yeah.
I'm so bad with that stuff. I'm a total.
You were terrible with that
hoarder,
stuff.
And you just moved, but you kept all your stuff?
I didn't even. I got rid of a lot, but not enough.
Yeah. Great. Thank you for your contribution to Get a Load of Laundry. We appreciate it.
Get a load of laundry.
As always.
Elise.
Okay, so get a load of this.
There.
She did it right.
There is this really funny tweet. It's also about the Cats movie. Sorry.
We're very excited about it.
But I am so excited about it. It's basically, it compiles all these different quotes from different outlets talking about the Cats movie and their reviews. So the Boston Globe was, "My eyes are burning. Oh God, my eyes." And then there's the LA Times that says, "Cats is both a horror and an endurance test."
Oh,
and then my favorite from The Beat is, "Cats is the worst thing to happen to cats since dogs."
That's pretty good.
The Boston Globe would make me
stuff.
want to see that movie.
It's so funny. Do you feel like film writers with their headlines and reviewers, I feel like they're hammier than even game writers, aren't they? Some of
they're
those.
so witty.
Yeah. I mean,
they're good stuff.
I feel like film critics are kind of more entertainingly dickish than as someone who's been a games writer than games writer. It's they go out of their way to make the headline entertaining, even if it's a bit mean.
And they've been around longer, so is that just the future of all game headlines as well? Is just the most sensationalist
people
thing?
trying to one up each other. On
I mean, it already kind of is that, but to that extent.
Oh,
yeah. Hey, get a load of this. Apparently, there's a documentary about creating Jedi Fallen Order. I just saw Mitchie D tweeted out, which was amazing, but it's called Built by Jedi, and it's in the deluxe edition. It's also been ripped and put on YouTube, which is where I watched it. But it's solid, and I love the idea of developers creating long-form documentaries showing the creation of the game, and I wonder how much of it comes from Stig, who's the creative director on that project, coming from the God of War team, and God of War has done an amazing job of showing behind the scenes
Raising
with every
Kratos.
single but then even going back to the PS2 games, they would release documentaries on that as well. But I love that idea of if a developer gets that ball rolling and it's uncomfortable to create a documentary about the process, but now that that's rolling, now it has a great legacy. Now we get to see a Star Wars doc.
I feel like games are finally reaching the point where the mysticism behind them, there's actually a profitable enterprise there to sort of unveiling that.
Interesting.
Insomniac is literally putting out the script for Spider-Man. You can buy it.
Amazing.
The video game script. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
I love that.
They announced that this week.
What does that look like?
That's the thing, right? What does that look like? I don't know what that looks like. I'm going to buy that just to see it.
I 100% buy that.
And you got to give extra tip of the cap for the companies that do that when they have to work with a company like Marvel or with Star Wars. That is an extra legal hassle they have to go through to be transparent.
And I'm sure in addition to, the profit angle, if you're on that team or, had a major impact on it, it must just be so nice to just catalog that and archive it and have it so that you can look back, instead of taking pictures and, trying to remember something that way, you have this amazing movie that you can go back to and show your kids someday.
Yeah, right. I think publications and publishers and stuff are starting to realize that people are actively interested in that sort of thing.
Yeah.
One of the weird things as part of my job, a story came out recently where with the Outer Worlds with, someone talking about all the loopholes they had to go through to fix a bug that people were going through. And it was a 20 tweet thread.
Awesome.
And Polygon, IGN, a bunch of places reported on it. And people were like, oh man, this is super interesting. So I feel like we are going to see more of that.
Yeah.
Sort of thing of here's the magic of making games. Unmystified.
Yeah, for
because
sure.
Tons of people do that with film. People buy behind the scenes, books and stuff all the time about their favorite movies.
I would love to see more of that.
But
also because studios from one studio to the next, they all do it differently. They all have different methods, and so I mean, especially when it comes to games writing, I'd be fascinated to see the kind of inside look of that.
I would pay an ungodly amount of money to get a behind the scenes, like in-depth book about the making of Mass Effect 2.
100%, and it should be done. And like I was talking to Frank Cifaldi not too long ago, Video Game History Foundation, and he was talking about like it's just so frustrating. And I hadn't really thought about this directly, but like going to bookstores, there are so many books about the creation of films and like autobiographies from the world of film, and then you go to the video game section, it's hey, how to get ahead in Fortnite. And it's just like, oh my god.
The most frustrating thing to me, and this isn't like I'm not shitting on Limited Run or anything here, but the idea of like a special edition for a video game is you get swag with it, right? Whereas for movies, Criterion stuff, here's essays, here's how this game was made. Or, I mean, here's how this movie was made over the years, here's the reception towards it, here's how they restored it. That's what video game special edition should be, especially for older games. That's what I want. I want video game criterions.
Yes. Or
That would
even
be so cool.
Yeah, in the book world too, I just want more autobiographies from the video game industry.
yeah.
Like when I got to interview Mark Cerny, that was like the first thing I asked. It's like, will you please write a book someday? And everybody, they don't give credit to their own importance to the entire medium. Somebody like Mark Cerny has had one of the wildest careers, and he's one of the smartest guys in the industry by a mile, right? And he's just like, oh, no one would want to read that. It's like, are you nuts? Even like Andy McNamara, right? Like, I think he absolutely should write a book someday. And you bring it up, it's like, no one wants to read my dumb words. It's like,
Yes,
what
we
are
do.
you talking about?
And that's just Andy in general. He's so frustrating about like things that actually have value to the world that he has. Like, it's so internalized to a degree.
I think I cracked it. It's he really respects video game history, but if that video game industry touches him at all, then it's garbage.
It's so frustrating.
I
Because
agree.
he has played like a pivotal role in like the video game press.
Right.
I feel like he should put words down about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I also wanted to say that I do hope that more, developers give the behind the scenes videos and stuff like that, because I think it will also help humanize them in a way that we really need. And like the example of that bug stuff, that's the kind of thing that people will just go online and be like, oh, they still haven't fixed this, they're
It takes
just lazy
15
or
minutes
whatever.
to fix. Why haven't they fucking fixed it?
Lazy Game Freak.
Yeah,
And so
I would-
giving them that behind the scenes look of the actual process and also the actual human beings that are working on this, I think will go a long way towards
Yeah, because
helping
people
that.
just don't know.
I mean, I think a large problem of that is like a lot of people who do that sort of thing don't read like the big pieces that come out from like The Verge, which has done a great job of like cataloging, just emotional burnout and stuff.
I think like
having that in documentary form, that would be a game changer.
Right.
Yeah.
It's shocking, like with some extent with the Jedi Fallen Order doc and Raising Kratos specifically. It's like when the conclusion of every video game documentary is like, making games is impossible. What a nightmare. Like it's such a weird thing for the medium, but I think it is important to show that like this is a glimpse of what these developers are going through and how much they have to bust their ass to make this happen.
Well, like imagine if Bethesda had done that with Fallout 76, Not that it would make the game any better, but maybe people would feel a little more sympathetic and wouldn't be so quick to shit on, and like accuse everyone of just it being a cash grab. Like, I'm sure there are very talented people who are very passionate about trying to make this project, and we just don't think of those people.
Well, to be fair, I mean, Danny O'Dwyer did a no-clip documentary on Fallout 76, but and I love Danny's work, but I think one of the weird things there was that was like a preview documentary, and I think if it would have been, if there's a follow-up and you could have seen like the impact of that launch and how much the developers were probably killing themselves, staying late, trying to right that ship. It's like,
I mean, that's years of people's lives.
Right.
And I think that's a really hard thing to make people realize, who aren't in the industry. Because it's very easy for us to know that because we've been working, and covering that sort of thing for years.
Yeah.
Someone who just goes out and they buy Call of Duty and, Fortnite or whatever, it's very easy, I think, for them to get frustrated because they don't know the human cost.
But even then, I always love Jeff Cork for this angle where you bring this up to him, and it's like, the developers really killed themselves to make this one. And he goes like, not my problem. Like in terms of like reviews, it's like, hey, you should buy this for $60 or you should not. Like I understand, and there is obviously a human component here, but like I can't let that factor in. Not
For
my
sure.
problem.
It doesn't make the games better, but respect the fact that human beings are the ones making it and don't go on the internet and, tell people to go get
Dox
cancer
them.
and stuff.
That's
because you didn't like a game. And I do think if they actually saw them as people first and not, a developer name as a corporation, you know, that would help.
Yeah, humanize it a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, thank you so much for swinging by my cold basement, Elise. You're half of a block of ice at this point, but I appreciate it. Do you want to give out your Twitter handle?
Yeah, you can follow me at, it's just Elise Favis, my full name.
And Favis is spelled?
Favis.
What is the etymology of Favis? What's going on
It's Greek.
There? Really?
Yeah. I'm part Greek, part French, and part German.
Wow. And all cool.
What was that? How dare you?
Great. And Washington Post launcher, follow that. It's going to be a fun saga moving forward. Launcher.gg is actually it's interesting because we wanted .com, but they would have had to pay like something crazy like $300,000 or something. Like they did not want to give that up. Anyway, so it's launcher.gg, and you can follow all that stuff on the Washington Post. We're doing lots of cool stuff. That's very exciting.
Really though, check out Launcher. Like the pieces you guys have put out in such like a short amount of time. They're just great from all of you.
Yeah, we're very features driven, so a lot of fun like behind the scenes stuff and analysis.
Yeah.
And
there was a particularly Hideo Kojima profile that I think Gene
wrote that.
Yeah, Gene Park did that was really
very
good.
eloquently
and
done, and the art like I mean, I know I work there, but it's like it's very visually stunning
art
stuff.
is so fruitstratingly good.
Hey, we
just
do.
as someone, it's so good.
I gotta check it out.
Part of it is like we contract we have commissions, done by like illustrators,
right?
And then some of that's also just done in house. So
that's amazing.
Pretty cool.
Very cool. JV, you want to plug anything? You're back on Twitter. You want to give that a hot plug out there?
I don't even remember. It's at @IV_JAVY. If you want to follow me there.
Yeah.
But I don't really have anything. I'm working on a bunch of personal projects.
Oh, cool.
That maybe within the year I can say something about, but that's about it.
And Tara Bruno PR
stuff?
stuff?
I work for Tara Bruno PR, which means that I worked as like an extension of like private division and stuff. So I work with those folks on like the Outer Worlds and Disintegration, which is coming up and looks cool.
Yeah, for sure. That's the one from one of the Halo co-creators.
Yeah, the Halo, Marcus Leto.
Yeah, that sounds cool. Again, we're going to be taking next week off for the MinnMax show. We'll still have some content trickling out. We'll have posts on Patreon and stuff like that, videos on the YouTube channel, but it's going to be kind of a strange week here for MinnMax, but we could use some time to relax, enjoy your families and friends, and then come out swinging for 2020.
And the viewers should take that time too. Spend time with your family.
Yeah, stop listening to so many podcasts. What's with all these long podcasts taking up your time? Sweet. Jeff, do you have a message for anybody?
Happy holidays, and honestly and genuinely just thank you to the entire community. They have been awesome this entire time, and it's always fun. And I'll be looking in the Discord chat for people posting pictures of the tabletop games they're playing with their family and all that stuff. Yeah,
absolutely. It's going to be super fun. We look forward to a fun 2020, and we definitely want to hear what you'd like us to do in 2020 as well. Yeah. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. Be good, have fun. Let's go.
Bye.
Bye.